What's up, chat? Welcome back in. It's Tuesday. We're getting tactical today. And the way we're getting tactical is with the new Xenos armies in 11th edition Warhammer 40k, because this is the day where we get all of that. It's all out. Let's go. Let's jump in, because it looks actually kind of sick, to be honest. First things first, Games Workshop has blessed us with a absolute glut of information. Unlike our previous one, they have given us force dispositions on all of these detachments, which I think they forgot to do for Space Marines. Let's go back and actually double check if they added them. They did! They did add them. So that's going to be interesting. I don't know necessarily if any of these are better or worse than the other ones. It feels a little bit to me, and maybe this is because, I don't know, maybe I'm biased or something, but it feels kind of like priority assets is what you get when you get punished for being good. Because priority assets feels difficult, and it's actions, and you have to have like units to do actions. It's a whole thing. The other ones like seem kind of all over the place, and then recon seems like the one you get for not being as good. I don't know if that's true though. But recon just seems like it has a lot of passive scoring, so it's like, I don't know, maybe it's fine. But having played, I think I played both disruption and recon, and I think I liked recon way more. So, and it feels also like recon's very, very rare, but that could also just be a faction thing, right? Like a lot of times you have 0 to 1 recon in like either any of these factions, and everything else is like purge, disruption, priority assets and stuff. So I don't know, but that is kind of like the vibe I got. Which, fortunately for us, now we have dispositions for Xenos factions. We can actually see like where we're looking at for in terms of our missions. I don't know necessarily if I can, I guess comment on how good any of these particular force dispositions are. I think we are far too early for that, but I do like that we have the information. Thought you got to choose force disposition. You do not. If you have multiple, you choose one on list submission, or I guess it's like pregame. It's like in a pregame step, but it is for events. It would be on list submission. You would pick one and put it in your list. So if, for example, I was playing 3 detachment points, I had a 2-pointer and a 1-pointer, and I had both disruption and recon, I could choose when I build my list which disposition I'm going to have. But I don't get to choose it dynamically. So there you go. If you got to choose, everyone would just play whatever the best one was. The entire game would be mirror matches. But you don't. All right, let's hop in and talk about some armies here. I figure we'll start with Aeldari. Worried as an Agents player? Well, I don't know if I'd be worried. I would just be expecting to get nothing, because that's what they said they're going to do for Imperial Agents, is just literally do nothing for them. So that's exciting. Have fun with that. So Aeldari getting 4 1-point detachments, because they get ones for Harlequins as well. They only have, it seems like every faction only has 2-ish, 3 detachment point detachments, which means that the multi-detachment system is going to be, I think, a little bit more effective than I would have maybe otherwise have expected. What we don't see, though, is any new 1-point detachments. I literally think that any existing detachment has come in at 2. I don't believe that there is a single example of a detachment coming in at 1, which I guess is fair, because they're all like big 6-point detachments, or 6 stratagem detachments. But Eldar getting things like Corsair Coterie for 2, so you can add it to another existing one, is pretty cool. Windrider Host at 2 also seems good. I honestly think like there's probably play for Seer Council and stuff at 2 as well. So we'll see. And then you could just like slot in the next one for any specific stuff you want. I know we talked about the Ranger detachment, I think, being pretty good, especially because it seems like you could take it alongside Windrider Host, which seems incredible. So we'll see. But also being able to take it alongside Corsair Coterie is great, because it buffs your Shroud Runners. So that all seems good. But then being able to like switch out of priority assets, take recon, for example, is awesome. So Eldar looks like they're eating well, and we can talk about exactly how that works by talking about their existing detachments, which is cool. So Armored Warhost is one of them. It's Eldar vehicle stuff. You can make your Psychers into Tech Marines. They get lone operative when they're standing next to a vehicle and can heal it. Guiding Presence, which is +1 to hit. At the start of your shooting phase, select a friendly Eldar vehicle within 6 inches. Gets +1 to hit. Pretty cool. You have a 5+ field campaign against mortal wounds. Kind of whatever. I don't know. Sometimes useful, but it is what it is. Soul Sight is 1 CP, gives you 1 hit wounded damage reroll. So it's like it triples the effect of a command reroll, but you have to pre-declare it, basically. You could use it, like a Fire Prism already has a baked-in reroll, so you could use it to almost get full rerolls on like on a big Fire Prism shot or something. But it is pretty niche, I think. And then Vectored Engines lets you fall back and shoot for 1 command point. This stuff seems fine. I don't know necessarily if I'm like that excited about it, to be honest, but there it is. I guess. I do appreciate that they do want to stray away from the Eldar MSU of yesteryear. You just have infinite Vipers and that all get like overlapping buffs, sort of stuck together. Acrobatic Onslaught. This is Fateful Performance for Harlequins. It gives you you can charge your enemy models, which doesn't really do anything, to be honest. So it's fine, I guess. A Troop Master gets real charges, or a Shadow Seer gets Infiltrate. You can attach this to an existing Harlequin detachment. So you can take the Harlequin detachments we already have and basically glue them together, which is okay. You can uppy downy a Harlequin unit, you can reactive move a Harlequin unit, and you can fight on death a Harlequin unit. A lot of reactive effects. The detachment ability is not very good, but I guess it's okay if you are considering it in the context of the existing Harlequin detachment, where you can like charge closer to units, but not necessarily closer to the enemy, closest enemy. Although that might need to get reworked, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, because you don't have to do that anymore anyway. So that could be an example of another ability that needs a rewrite and maybe doesn't get it. I don't know. We'll see. Path of the Outcast is +6 detection range for friendly Rangers and Shroudrunners when they shoot at enemies. Pretty good. This is the one where I think if you take this alongside Corsair Coterie and you just like windmill slam 18 Shroudrunners and you're kind of like off to the races. So you can gain +6 detection range, and then you can pay a CP to give +6 detection range to everything you shoot at. Which is sweet. So you basically can push hidden up to 18 or 21 inches, which is a huge deal. I do think that's going to be massive. So we love this. You can get Rangers to shoot and still hide. That's kind of whatever. Rangers or Shroudrunners targeting characters gain +1 AP. That's actually legitimately amazing, especially because we can stack that with the Coterie strat. Let me grab it here. Oh, hello. That's not what I wanted. It is ignore cover and rapid fire and +1 AP, which is a lot. So we can have +2 AP if we want it on Shroudrunners, which is nuts. That is if you target a character unit, but let's be real, chat. You and I, let's be honest with each other. Character units are fucking incredible in this edition. I think that's going to happen very often. Whether or not that's a singleton character who's just doing utility stuff, or it's a big unit with a character in it, or it's a big vehicle, it's a character. That's going to happen all the fucking time. And so being able to dump a million statistical bonuses on your Shroudrunner shooting is going to be crazy. So I think this plus Coterie feels like it's going to be great. I don't know. You also, when a friendly Ranger Shredder unit has shot, you can make a normal move up to D6 inches. Oh, shit. So you can tow it to your infantry and shoot and then run away. I guess what you can't do is stack that and the Outcast Ambush buff. But you can still get shots and then hide yourself. That's awesome. That's going to be good. I'm calling it now. That's going to be solid. Solid and good. Twilight Flickers is an acrobatic detachment. I guess like does the other one have acrobatic? It does. Okay, so we can't lock in both of the Harlequin detachments, both of the one detachment point Harlequin detachments. But as it seems like, and I'm sure we'll see, we'll see more when we come to some of the other factions that have overlapping detachment buffs. It does feel a lot like the restrictions that we were assuming would happen, where they would go back through existing detachments and give them restrictive keywords. They haven't done that on any of the previous ones, which is wild. So you're able to like just dump detachment abilities onto single units. This is like I think the first example of two detachments that are actually restricted. All the other ones have been actually you can play them together, which is wild. Or they're restricted just by detachment points in a Strike Force game. But in larger games, you can play all of them together, which is wild. I think this is the first one where they've actually had the same tag. So this gives all friendly Harlequin stealth, which most of them do have stealth already, so it's okay, I guess. And stealth itself is kind of a middling buff, but it's okay because you can already get the benefit of cover just normally. So getting stealth and cover is fine. Shadowfall Masks gives you Fight First, which is mid. Prelude Performer gives you Scout 6, which is good. Scout 6 is good. You can get Lance, you can get Obsec, and you can get a Shoot and Scoot, which is actually great, but it only works in vehicles. It does let you, for example, run up your Starweavers and then Starweavers and then run in and blast people with the firing deck gunshots and then run away, which is kind of cute. But you can also do it on Void Weavers to hide yourself out of their 18-inch lone operative effect, so that seems not too bad.
At Nat1 Fletcher donated $2 through Super Chat. So do any current detach have their tags?
So existing detachments have no tags at all. Tags is a new thing. So if it's a detachment that existed already in the game, it has no tags. And unless they have added them here, they in the previous faction packs, they have added no tags to any detachments. So there were the tags that they added to like Space Marine detachments don't currently do anything because there's no other detachments with the same tag. So right now, no detachments have their tags. Thanks for super chat, by the way. I appreciate you. All right, let's hop over to some other stuff. So Serpent's Brood is the cool Harlequin detachment. Again, as you see, no tags. Look at that. We can just take it alongside the other thing. I don't know necessarily if any of this has been changed. I think the assumption is that it's not, unless we see otherwise. So I think we'll just push through all this stuff. Whee! I doubt data sheets have been significantly changed. I do think like Karseth might be good now. Because I do think that 12-inch areas now auras are huge. So just this guy like being able to sit in your back line and prevent enemies from coming in, like this guy plus a ranger unit or something, being able to screen basically most of your deployment zone is big. There's a lot of objectives that care about your deployment zone, and so I think that's going to be a huge deal. All right, let's hop down and see if there are any datasheet changes. These are mostly balanced data slate stuff, it seems. I don't think. I guess they retooled Devoted of Uniad to give you a surge move, which is how we want things to be, but obviously those are slightly different. Excuse me, chat. A lot of the reactive moves returned from 9 inches down to 8 inches, stuff we would expect to see. Unshrouded Truth goes 8 inches away instead of 9. It's a bunch of stuff. Yeah, I don't know if any of this is like particularly exciting. I guess. Oh, what's interesting is that they added. Oh, this, I don't like this actually. They added the frame keyword to our
A bucket of steel
aircraft.
Sybil donated $6.99 through Super Chat. Wait, so what can double down on both Cabal detachments because Cartel isn't tagged with Cabal? Best news.
We haven't looked through the Drukhari codex, but that seems to be the implication. They basically have added no tags to existing detachments in any of the factions we looked at so far. So, yeah, I don't know, just that. And we also saw that for Blood Angels. Like, Blood Angels just have multiple Death Company payoffs that they could just combo all together. And they can just play them all in the same faction, in the same army. All right, this is, I don't know. These are all kind of just stuff. All right, we'll move on. This is boring. Reading through FAQs. What a time, or erratas. What a time to be alive. Let's go back and talk about the next faction. Let's talk about, we'll go to Drukhari next, because they are next in the order of things. Boom. Why did it do that? That's weird. Is it going to open? There it goes. All right. Drukhari time. So I guess the first thing that we want to take a peek at is if they added any restrictive tags to any of the existing codex stuff. I imagine that they haven't, but they could have. So like Spectacle Spy Detachment, they've changed a couple of stratagems. A challenge met has been changed. Is that the stratagem that lets you reactively charge people? Did they like massively nerf that? So this is the stratagem that is currently at the end of your opponent's movement phase. You target a witch cult unit that is that were able to declare a charge if it was your charge phase, like an enemy unit with a 9 that was set up on the battlefield or ended a normal advance move this phase. You declare a charge against that unit and then resolve that charge. They have changed it so that it is used in your opponent's movement phase when an enemy unit ends a fallback move. You target an unengaged witch cult unit within 6 inches. You declare a charge against that unit. When selecting charge targets, you can only select enemies that made a fallback move this phase and are within the maximum distance. So instead of triggering at the end of your opponent's movement phase based on any movement, it only works when you get fallen back from. I guess like you could target any witch cult into you, like and charge into you, but it has to be a witch cult unit within 6 inches of the unit that fell back after it fell back. And it also doesn't happen. You don't have perfect knowledge when it happens because it's dynamic within the movement phase. That is a massive change. That's fucking huge. They're probably much more okay with this detachment being comboed with other things if it doesn't have this supremely powerful stratagem in it. So that is enormous. I guess that's important to note going in. Oh, weird.
A bucket of steel Sybil donated $6.99 through Super Chat. A challenge met chases running away targets. What a challenge.
Well, it's because like you have to they have to like run harder. They have to run faster to get them, you know? I also wonder, like, there's probably a little bit of a difference in power level for this as well, because your opponent gets to fight you first also. Although now this gives you... Does this still have the section that prevents you from getting the charge bonus? It does. Actually, does charge bonus do anything? Is charge bonus a thing? I think it is. Actually, I don't know. I have no idea, actually. That's maybe worth looking up. One sec, chat. We're going to take a quick peek. We'll see if charge bonus appears anywhere in the core rules. But if your opponent doesn't make any other charges, they would just fight the witches first and probably kill them. So, it is what it is. Or even like the other thing too is that you could just like charge the which unit after. The term charge bonus appears nowhere in the core rules, by the way. So I actually don't know if that restriction does anything. It does feel like you fight normally. Because not getting a thing that doesn't exist doesn't do anything. What I don't like, so I've just now noticed this, and I don't know if this happens to the Space Marine faction thing, and we just missed it. But they gave every aircraft frame, which means they hull measure, which I do not like. I would like, GW, please. I would like less hull measuring in the game, not more. Please stop adding hull measuring to things that have a base. They have a base. You could just use the base. That's bizarre. That also makes it really difficult to set them up. Wait a minute. Is this fucked? If all aircraft have hull measuring, then like you have to fit this big ass thing with wings wholly within 6 inches of a table edge? That seems fucked. There's also no large bottle deployment rules, right, currently. So if you can't fit in the area, I think you just get fucked. That seems bad. I don't like that. Yikes. Void Raven Bomber did change. We get to see how bombing runs have been updated. Now it's at the end of your opponent's fight phase. You select one visible enemy model, excluding lone operatives, within 24 inches. Roll 1d6 for each enemy unit within d6 inches of that model. For each 4+, the enemy suffers d6 mortal wounds. Now that changes the entire ability. Does that change the once per game nature? It does. Interesting. Interesting. So this replaces the entirety of this, which means the Void Raven Bomber now bombs every turn. Or every round, I guess. Not every turn, every round. That's crazy. Void Raven Bomber stonks up? What? I guess it doesn't do it like it lets you have a turn before it does it, and you could kill it, right? And then it doesn't get to do it. So I guess it's like it's a trade-off. But it's range 24, right? And this thing's gonna like drop in the backline somewhere. Like you don't necessarily have to put it in a like massively forward position. And then your opponent just has to like take cover from it. Everybody runs away. Oh, I don't know. That's kind of cool. Is that good? I don't know. Is it cool? Yes. Nice bonus, I guess. Man, these are like every other faction got big nothing burgers inside the rules updates. This is massive for Drukhari. We did get the Lady Malice changed to once per turn. Hellions Skyborn Evasion, I think, was probably changed from 9 to 8 inches. Yeah. Oh, it's any move now from Hellions, which, so I believe, and this might need clarification, but I'm fairly certain that any move also triggers on reactive, or on, not reactives, on ingress moves. So when you reserve onto the table, you can run away with your Hellions if you reserve within 8. Which it requires that you have some sort of special ability. But it lets you react to people's reserve moves, which is huge. That's totally new. There's also, let's see, some changes to Covenant Coterie. Let's see what these are. So Connoisseurs of Pain. So it gives you, spends a pain token, worsens the armor penetration characteristics and attack by 1. Oh, it's just changing like the basic stuff. Yeah, okay. These are just whatever. All right, who cares? Let's talk about new detachments. inside this faction pack. So I already see some big changes to data sheets. Now, let's talk about what we are putting those data sheets on. Exhibition of Slaughter is the Witch Cult detachment. This gives you lethal hits versus non-monster vehicle enemies. Not too bad. We'd kind of prefer them against monsters vehicles, because a lot of your stuff is like anti-infantry 2 or whatever. But lethal hits against basically anything is solid. We have the Periaptive Torment, which is you can't be shot by step shooting. Is that already an enhancement? Wait a minute, what? Huh. Can we have 2 of these? Do we just get 2? That's what? This wasn't updated, right? There wasn't any like changes to the Periapt that like renamed it, or no? Huh. We just get 2 Periapts of Torments. That's bizarre. That's so weird. Sometimes they do reuse names of like stratagems or enhancements, but I don't think they've ever reused them in the same in armies that can be played together. What the fuck? Okay. Right. Interesting. They are also mechanically different, which is the wild part. This Periaptive Torments is you cannot be overwatched. This Periaptive Torments is that you cannot be snapshot. Now that includes Overwatch, but affects other things as well. I'm not crazy, right? These are both like, this is a 2 and a 3. Oh god. What? Where did my thing go? Spectacle of Spiders 2. Exhibition of Slaughters 1. So we can make 3 detachment points by putting them together, and we can get both enhancements. That's wild. All right. Anyway. I don't know. What the fuck? All right. Hyperstim Trafficker gives you +1 toughness in your whole unit. That's okay, I guess. That does mean like a lot of small arms has a tougher time killing you, which is good. Whether or not that's worth the enhancement slots, I have no idea. It's the same with Towering Arrogance and Cartel and Agonist. Oh, they duplicate multiple enhancements? What? That's bizarre. Why did they do that? Like, it's easy to, like, just, give them different names. But the fact, and to some extent, if they had the same name and effect, you'd be like, well, you can't take multiple because you can't take the same enhancement more than one time and then the same enhancement. These are 2 mechanically distinct effects, just with the same name. They are clearly not the same enhancement. That's fucking weird, dude. Sculpting the stage gives you advance and fall back and perform an action. Good. Legitimately good, solid detachment. Or good, strong stratagem. Acrobatic display, 5+ vulnerable save. Yeah, this stuff is good. I think the big thing is that you can like duplicate this with the other detachment, and you can have lethal hits plus all of your combat stims. That's pretty big. The change to their biggest stratagem, I think, is going to very meaningfully affect how good this detachment is. But stuff like this means that you having all your witch units running all over the place anyway, means that you are going to be good at scoring secondaries, which is helpful. Cabalite Agonists, yeah. So Towering Arrogance in this case. Let's look at the original. Is oh boy. So that one is +1 Archon model only, +1 leadership and objective control characteristic. While the bearer is leading, my brother in Christ. It's the same. Those are the same. It's almost an identical effect, but it's mechanically slightly different. This one goes away if your unit dies. Oh, no, this one doesn't go away if your unit dies. Oh, no, the difference is that this one affects you if you're not leading, or this one doesn't affect you if you're not leading. So if you don't join in muster armies, you get no benefit. This one, you can take by yourself. How are we supposed to rule these? It certainly seems like you could take multiple instances of them if you wanted to. But then you have to like note which one's which. Fuck, that's a mess. What a mess, dude. Oh my god. Oh, I hate this. Yikes. Okay. Well, all right. This gives friendly blade for higher sustained hits when against non-monster vehicle enemies. Which is interesting. Because if they target infantry or mounted, they could already get sustained hits one. But it's contextual sustained hits one from the original Cabalite Cabal, so or Cartel. So it's a little different. You can also give an Archon, an entire Archon's units precision, which is not too bad. Obviously, high volume precision is kind of how you want precision in the new edition. Lets you kill the character efficiently and then pass other saves into the rest of the unit more easily. Stratagems, you can get reroll ones to hit and wound against a character unit. Very good. You can shoot people and remain hidden. Sort of mid, I guess. Oh, it is blades for hire, which I think affects scourges. Wait, is that goated? Yep. Oh boy. Okay then. That's very good. I mean, scourges already have like this really wild effect where they can hop a level, or they can be hidden. Stand on the second floor of terrain feature, shoot down, get heavy, and then drop down a level. If you pay a command point, you can just make it so that they don't have to drop down. They just sit there and they get heavy every turn. So they like hit on, I guess they hit on baseline 3s, I suppose. So that actually is very good. I kind of like poo-poo this stratagem in a lot of cases because you're like, well, we can give our shitty utility unit that has like, one meaningful ranged attack, the ability to shoot and remain hidden. But we're talking about scourges here, which is a unit with 4 heavy weapons. So that's going to be significantly spookier. Killers from the Dark Spires is the last one. Gives your Cabalite Warriors ignore cover, which is whatever. That's good, I guess. If you're like going all in on Cabalite Warrior stuff, I guess you could take this with like Sky Splinter, and you could like fully wombo out your guy. Oh, no, but you can't stack stratagems, so this is kind of limited. I don't know. Meh. Tools of Torment. Does this one have a duplicated? A duplicated thing? No. We finally printed a detachment without literally copying the homework of another enhancement that already exists. Good stuff. We love that. This gives you -1 to be wounded on Chronos or Talos units from weapons with a strength greater than their toughness characteristic. The toughness of like a Talos is not very high. It's kind of weird. They're like supposed to be these big tanky beat sticks, but they're only T7. So basically like any anti-heavy infantry, like any Melta, is going to be -1 to wound against them. And then not to mention the fact that also like legitimate anti-tank weapons are also -1 to wound. So pretty good, I would say. You can take this alongside Reaper's Wager, which is like a big place that you see Talos get played. But Talos are generally good, especially if you can buff their speed at all. So I don't know. Seems fine. We can give a homunculus unit the same effect as the detachment ability, as one enhancement, or we can upgrade Chronos or Talos to get a 5+ invuln save. Fucking sick. All in. Windmill slam. We can get devastating wounds onto Chronos or Talos units. Homunculus Covens can force a battle shock to a visible enemy within 12 when they destroy something. That's fine. And then Urgent Metamorphosis gives you a fallback move, and you can still charge. I like that stuff. That's pretty good. I imagine this is all the same because they have refused to update any of the existing new detachments. And so that seems fine. I'm curious as to where Drukhari end up with the combinations of their detachments, because there is some, I think, like, obviously stacking like double Cabalite detachments or like double Witch Cult detachments are obviously good. The only thing you can't stack two things alongside is Reaper's Wager, because it gives you basically army-wide rerolls, so they don't want to give you multiple of those. But there's like a lot of interesting combinations in here. I also think that there's some argument to be made for taking like some of the less spicy ones, like Sky Splinter, and then like stack that onto, you know, Cabalite Agonist or something, so that you can get more payoffs for your Incubi units that are hopping out of transports. There's some interesting play there as well, so that should be fun. Yeah. Anyway, I think pretty cool stuff for Drukhari. Who are we talking about next? I guess Tyranids are next on the list. I guess we'll talk about Tyranids. I suppose we'll talk about Tyranids. Now, big thing, obviously, is Invasion Fleet was 3 detachment points. That was the one that I don't think anyone... what a shocker, you know? However, the other one, Subterranean Assault, is 3 detachment points. The big thing is that Subterranean Assault apparently just remains unchanged, which is huge, because we weren't 100% sure about that. I was actually thinking about taking it. We did actually consider what it would be. I think that we've basically, hit every single, every prognostication about a forced disposition. I think we've hit every one of them so far. I remember last week we played Invasion Fleet, and we're like, there's no way this isn't taken hold. We talked about Subterranean Assault in the Discord and said it's probably Disruption. And then we played Vanguard Onslaught and said this is probably Reconnaissance. Although I think I played Disruption, one game with Disruption with it, but I forgot that Reconnaissance existed, to be perfectly honest. And then in the tournament, we said that Vanguard Onslaught was going to be Reconnaissance, and that's what we nailed. And I think we've got it for basically all the other ones too. I don't think that we have been wrong on any of these so far, which is actually kind of surprising. I guess it just means that the theming of the detachments is pretty on point, because it's relatively easy to pick up where it is. Assimilation Swarm not a good move for the game. Yeah, I mean, Assimilation Swarm buffed because you can take it with a second detachment. This game sucks. Clearly, Games Workshop is not in. They're not in communication with the player base and what the player base actually wants. Because what the player base actually wants is for Assimilation Swarm to be removed from the game. Nobody wants that detachment. It sucks. It sucks. It's bad. Stupid. I don't know. It is kind of a meme, but I do legitimately think that Assimilation Swarm's bad game design. I think the herd or tank until you don't die and then heal yourself to full is a super dumb playstyle. I mean, just see it's fucking Necron Silvertide. And they not only they made this detachment that's this really just yucky yucky play pattern, but then they also turn around and put it in Tyranids, which is just the easiest to kill army in the game. So it's who cares? Who cares about this bullshit? It's stupid. I don't know, chat. I don't know. Let's talk about some datasheet updates. I think it's more helpful to go through datasheet updates first, because then we don't have to ask questions and scroll back and forth through the argument. Is it weird that Eldar tanks don't have frame? Did they not add that in the update? That is weird if that's the case, because they added it to their airplanes. That there might be a thing where they blanket update a bunch of shit. So I wouldn't make any particular assessments about it until we see the rules commentary, because there could be a thing that's just add the frame keyword to any unit that has either no base or a smaller than 60 mil base or something that is vehicle keyword or something like that. I don't know. We'll see. All right. Shadow of the Warp. They added the Synapse thing. Synapse gives you +1 strength, and you take battleship attacks on 3d6. Synapse is interesting because it does make you much less susceptible to the repeat Battleshock tests. However, I kind of hope that at some point they increase the range, because I have found that it is more relevant to stay within 6 inches of your synapse creatures, but it's way harder to do that. And so, like, randomly being Battleshocked and having to take, like, Leadership 8 or 9 Battleshock tests on random idiots sucks, dude. Because you're basically every leadership characteristic in the Tyranid faction was designed assuming that you have Synapse applied to you currently. And because Synapse now applies prior to Neurotyrants, or Battleshock tests apply prior to Neurotyrants passing Neuroloids to people, it's so much more difficult to get them onto people that are relevant. In fact, I think that it means that the Synapse Neuroloids is like really, it's like a bad rule because it doesn't affect you during the Battleshock step, which is stupid. So there's like some weirdness there. But if they push it to like 9 inches, I think that would be a meaningful change. But it's also, the other thing too is that, which I don't love, but it might end up being the case, is that it just disincentivizes you from ever playing non-Synapse units, which would be bad. Because if you ever get like sort of diegetically battleshocked just by like randomly having something, you know, explode near you and you hear it and get freaked out, then it's really super bad. So if you're just like, well, if everything's a Synapse creature, it doesn't matter. I don't care about Synapse range, which would not be ideal. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it, chat. A lot of these are just changes to keep things mechanically the same. The Harpy has been changed. At the end of your opponent's fight phase, do one of the following. Select a visible enemy unit, excluding lone operatives, within 24 inches. Roll 6d6 for that unit. For each 3+, that unit suffers a mortal wound. Fuck. Okay, awesome. Or add a new Sporemine unit containing D3 models to your army and set up anywhere on the battlefield that is within 6 inches of this model. Within, not wholly. And more than 8 inches horizontally from enemy units. You cannot select this option for more than one model per turn. Interesting. What's the weird thing about that is it doesn't let you do is like see your secondaries and then drop Spore Mines because they happen in your opponent's turn. But that is the same as we saw for the other bombing run stuff. Little typo there. Forgot a space. Oopsies. Bunch of stuff. This is 4 years of datasheet updates like packaged into this one thing. Swarm Lord's abilities changed. Oh, interesting. It's once per turn here, so it could affect your opponent on both your and your opponent's turns. So if they use both offensive and defensive stratagems, the Vect effects hit you multiple times, which is interesting. All right. To units that are repositioned from rules, specify that the unit being repositioned as first place into reserves. You can take a Battleshock test on a roll of a 2+ for hunting grounds. Yes. Don't think these are anything that is super surprising. All right, whatever. Here's a question. Where's Harry Dan at? Is he in the Forge World section? Harry Dan. Chat. He lives. He's a hover vehicle now. It's all over. He's so bad. Oh my god. Harry Dan, no! Not like this. He has the frame keyword and he's a flying monster. No! Buddy, how far the mighty have fallen. Oh, man, that sucks. So here's why that sucks, chat. First of all, Harry Dan's fucking massive. He's the size of a house. In some deployment zones, he literally cannot fit in your deployment zone if you hull measure him. In addition to that, he can't fit out of line of sight on any deployment, so gun lines kill him top of one. And he's kind of slow. And then also, like, he's very big, so he, like, touches terrain all the time by accident. Oh, R.I.P. Harry Dan. If he had actual legitimate defensive characteristics, that would probably be fine, but he doesn't. He's, like, defensive characteristically a rhino. He's so bad. Oh, that's too bad. Well, it was fun while it lasted, Harry Dan. I guess you could put him in reserve the normal way. It's probably the same if you are playing, like, Subterranean. But currently, based on the rules that we currently have, I don't believe that you can strat reserve him if you don't have a way to deep strike him, because he just doesn't fit in the table. with the frame keyword, he doesn't fit. Without frame keyword, he's fine, because his base is like 2 inches long. But with frame, he's fucked. He's so fucked. But but Subterranean Assault, I actually think you can't fit him wholly within the 9 inches of the bubble of the marker. So I actually think this is way worse. No, I think he's just unplayably bad now. Aw. Harry Dan. Well, you had a couple good additions. R.I.P., buddy. That was maybe the worst possible change they could have made. I was very excited for him to be like a weird aircraft guy, but being forced into hover mode is not good, in fact. Very bad. Yikes. Didn't he go up in toughness? No, he did not. He was always toughness 10. Brutal. What if they drop his points enough? So I think he was probably about 150 points overcosted with the aircraft mechanics. With this, he's like, you'd have to cut him a lot, dude. There's no way that they would cut him enough. He'd have to, this is like, legitimately, this is like a 300 point data sheet, maybe. Like, I don't think I can quite get across how mid this is. He's essentially a defiler, right? Like, he's a very similar defensive profile to a defiler when you think about it, because the defiler is 18 wounds, so 12 wounds less. However, +1 toughness, 5+ invuln, right? Which should save you somewhere around, I don't know, 30% of your health or so. I think literally 33% of your health in the case of a defiler. So he's like defensively a defiler and offensively very similar. He shoots more hard hitting guns, but less attacks overall. And his melee is, I would say, worse. So if you're like, well, we compare him to a defiler, but he's a defiler that you like can't deploy anywhere and is always in line of sight of your opponent and you can't hide him. So it's like, we cost him as much as, whatever like 1,000 Suns defiler ends up being is where a Harridan should be, which feels weird when you say it, but like the comparison is there. He does shoot harder, I guess, and it is easier for him to like get line of sight to things, but not dramatically easier. He's only 2 inches faster movement. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know, chat. Yeah. I think legitimately you'd have to cut his points value in half, I think, to make him playable and with these mechanics. If they do that, sure, I think that's fine. You could probably play with him. And then like when he gets killed turn 1, you haven't lost your whole army. You've lost one expensive model, which is, recoverable. But, in the current points value, if we assume that things don't change, which I 100% assume that they won't, this guy is, you lose him and you lose a third of your army immediately on turn 1. And there's no counterplay. Seems bad, chat. I do not like it. Be interesting if any of these things change. Probably not. I doubt it. Red Terror? When you change to Red Terror? Nope. Red Terror is still good. I'm interested to see how Red Terror ends up playing, too. I think Red Terror's got a bunch of interesting, like, there's some interesting synergies because there are secondaries that score in your own turn that you can score with Red Terror and then just leave, which is really funny. And also being able to like just pass through walls and stuff is really good. That said, and I guess also like utility infantry is going to be a big deal. So being able to just like kill them for free and then run away is a big deal. So I don't know. I think Red Terror is probably still solid. I don't think he fits into Subterranean Assault. I'd have to measure, but I don't think I have to measure. You can't. There's no way. The weird part about it is that like Warhammer 40k is a broken mess of a system, chat. And it uses 3-dimensional measurement. And there's a lot of cases where this would come into play and people conveniently forget that the game does this. But they've done a lot to like make measurement vertical, but measurement isn't actually vertical in 40k. There are some things that are, like engagement range, for example, and last edition objective markers like measured their objective control area vertically. However, the game doesn't actually do that on a baseline level. So when you're talking about this 40mm marker and you're measuring it to Harridan's like 17.5 inches long, I think. So you have to be, in order to be wholly within that area, all part of you has to be inside that range, which means that the diagonal between like the marker and the end of the tail and his nose all have to be inside that cone, essentially. You basically make this like 3-dimensional ice cream cone shape where his model has to be, because he has like a base and then off the ground. And then you basically have these diagonal measurements have to be 9 inches to the marker. And there's basically no way geometrically that works. I also think he's almost certainly no, he's like 13 inches tall. There's no way. So like the vertical measurement also doesn't work. There's no way you can be wholly within 9 inches of the marker and still set up on the battlefield. Yeah, Harridan's dead. R.I.P. Oh yeah, Venom Throws is a good question. Let's take a peek. They have not updated Venom Thropes. Another ability that is not it's not really compatible with the current incarnation of the rules. Although what's interesting is that sorry, chat. What's interesting is that you gain stealth if you're not a monster, but you also gain cover, which is just stealth. So you gain cover and cover unless you're a monster, in which case you gain cover. Go fuck yourself, GW. So that is to say, Venom Thropes work on everything now. Their full effect is attacks targeting you get, suffer from cover. Which is what they did previously. They also sometimes gave you stealth, but stealth is now cover, and it doesn't matter. So it is what it is. Stupid. All right. Good shit, chat. What a mess so far. When I said in my getting ready for 11th edition video, I was like, get ready for just fucking insane jank. This is what I meant. We have duplicated enhancements and we have duplicated effects from abilities. We have aircraft turning into frame measuring models for some reason. Stupid. Frame measurement's a talk. It is a pox upon our game. All right, let's talk about some detachments. Ambush Predators. Deathleaper, Lictor, Neurolictor get Deep Strike. We love that. Also, incredibly good. I talked about this in my pre-release video. And somebody was like, Herder, if bringing these guys out of reserve isn't that good, how come nobody plays Parasites and Mortrax? And I was like, well, it's because it's Parasite and Mortrax. What are you talking about? But the thing is that like Lictors get free rapid ingress. And being able to free rapid ingress anywhere on the table outside 8 inches of enemies with lone operative means that in many cases you can basically be like invincible. And so you can just deep strike on objectives and things. Boop ba doop ba doop. I'm just rapid ingressing onto objectives and doing whatever I want. It's fucking sick. This ability, very good. I like it. I like it a lot. When you target a character, you're gonna get reroll hit rolls of 1. Totally fine. Not great, but totally fine. You can give Von Ryan's Leapers -3 detection range. So when you're hidden, you become detection range 12. And when you're gone to ground, you can become detection range 9, which is kind of insane. The problem is that Von Ryan's Leapers, I think, are stone unplayable, which is not ideal because Fights First doesn't swing before the incoming attacks. You basically will never see that unit ever again. They're just dead, which makes me happy that I didn't waste time painting them my set, because they seem super trash. Part of the reason for that is that the idea of this unit was that you could use them to either roadblock against aggressive melee armies, or you could use them to defend expansion objectives without like basically allowing your opponent to like easily take them with disruption infantry. So like you can't charge, a scout unit onto my objective because the Von Ryan Sleepers will kill you, right? You can't charge a boys squad onto the objective because the Von Ryan Sleepers will kill you. Now, the Von Ryan Sleepers eat an entire round of attacking from a boys squad and die. And then they try to kill you and they don't. And the times in which those engagements happen are like top of, battle round 1, battle round 2, maybe mid game. And in those cases, very rarely are you engaging in multiple relevant combats, right? And when you're engaging across the breadth of the army, that's the period where Fight First becomes viable, because if your opponent makes an activation, then your Fights First model can go. If this doesn't happen before the charging unit, that's the only thing this unit has going for it. And if this doesn't happen before the charging unit, they're not good. They are bad. There's no reason to take this unit ever. They don't have lone operative. They rely entirely on hidden. So just take fucking actual lone operatives. It's so stupid. You get a Lictor for cheaper. They have like stronger individual melee attacks. Obviously less total melee attacks. But just take a Lictor. It's stupid. It is unfortunate. I do hope that they take some of those units that they have like mechanically gutted and they give them a points cost reduction. Because if the unit was very inexpensive, I think you'd play them. But there's not really any reason to play them now. Let's see. Enhancements. You can give Nick Lictor, Neurolictor, or Von Ryan's Leapers a reactive move. That's very good. Probably extremely good for Neurolictors, honestly. Neurolictors are already like very difficult to kill, but sometimes people come in to throw grenades at them, and that's what kills them. But if you just run away from the grenades, it's just like, get fucked. I'm out. I'm 8.1 inches away from you now, you moron. See ya. Let's see. You can get +1 strength and AP targeting hidden enemies, which we thought initially was going to be bad. We were like, why does the melee unit have a buff against hidden enemies that are just going to be shooting at them and not be hidden? But in fact, will happen very often. That's a legitimately good stratagem, so solid. A lot of times your opponent, what's going to be annoying is keeping track of what's hidden, because if your opponent runs in with their JPI and shoots with pistols, they're not hidden anymore, but you could easily forget that when it comes to the next turn. But we'll see. Hypersensory adaptations gives you a +6 detection range on a visible enemy unit within 12 inches. Fucking awesome. And Scanner Geist gives Deathleaper Lictor or Neurolictors uppy downy. All good shit. It is only one of them though. So if you play this alongside Vanguard Onslaught, you could uppy like 3 Lictors, I guess, if you really wanted to, for 2 command points, which would be a lot. But it's nice to have like a more, I don't know, a more targeted version, I guess, especially if you don't take them in conjunction with Vanguard. Seems solid. I wouldn't say necessarily it's the most crazy thing ever. You're buffing your utility units to make them punchier, which is kind of mid, but I don't know. Having Deep Strike is good, so let's see. I will say on the whole, I do think that Lictors are worse than they were. I think the lack of fights first definitely changes how you interact with that model. They can now just be charged by 5 gem pack and die, which sucks. So I don't know. Fight first was they were reliant pretty heavily on fight first. Talons of the Norn Queen, Norn Emissary and Assimilator buffs. This one lets you change their singular purpose once per game. Fucking so good, dude. This is what they were missing. Honestly, it sucks that it eats a full detachment to do this. It also is like weird that it's a little bit funny because like you can't take them with any of the detachments where you really want to play these guys. I guess like you could play them in Assimilation Swarm, which is definitely going to happen. But like not being able to wombo this with Invasion Fleet ends up creating like some weird things. I guess you could play them in Crusher Stampede, maybe. I don't know. But in any case, changing singular purpose is huge. You can give Norn Emissaries anti-character 2+ on their ranged attacks, which, like, who gives a shit about that? However, you can also give Norn Assimilators a 4+ invulnerable save. Whoa. So the whole thing with the article referencing Assimilators having a 4+ invulnerable save and then them retracting it, it turns out they did have it the whole time. which is fucking wild. Immediately Norn Assimilator it seems very good. I also, according to some leaks or some rumors, I guess, Norn Assimilators are going down in points value. So we might be in a the time of the Assimilator potentially in chat. All right, so we have Catalytic Biofortification. Gives you a 4+ feel no pain against mortal wounds on Norn Assimilators. So they just wanted to make Norn Assimilators into emissaries. They were like, guys, how come nobody plays Norn Assimilators? Oh, because emissaries are better. Okay. I guess we'll just turn them into the same unit. Makes you wonder why they're different units to begin with. You could give your units +2 strength in melee. Fucking sick. And then Tangle Strike rounds. Let's a Norn Assimilator give an enemy unit -2 movement. I don't know about that. Who cares about that? You're within 12 inches of them. They're going to discharge you anyway. Whatever. Stops you from getting away from them, I guess, but I think this is good in the context of a lot of the monster armies in the game, the big tanky versions, whether it's Synaptic Nexus or Crusher Stampede or Assimilation Swarm. All of these seem great. And I think this might end up being kind of necessary for the Norns here, because being able to switch your singular purpose is so big. And then last, but mostly, I guess, is the most exciting is Warrior Bioform Onslaught. Makes all Tyranid Warriors battle line. Ranged and melee bioweapons. Gain the Tyranid Warrior and battle line keyword. Tyranid Warriors and Primes gain a 5+ invulnerable save. We love that. And then you can get Tyranid Primes +1 AP and reroll wounds. Fucking sick, dude. Ocular Adaptation gives melee attacks +1 to hit. Also fucking sick, dude. The downside is that you are buffing warriors, which are generally terrible. So we'll see how that ends up being. Although I guess like cover maybe isn't so bad for them. Plus the ability to get a 5+ invuln plus cover is kind of good. So maybe that's fine. You can get -1 to be wounded if the attacking strength is greater than your toughness characteristic. You can get obsec end of your movement phase if you have a warrior unit controlling an objective. You can secure the objective, and then parasitic payload grants ignore cover to 1 Tyranid warrior unit, which is whatever. Fine, I guess. The enhancements feel like where things are at here. Like the ability and the enhancements feel legitimately kind of sweet. I don't know what you're comboing this with though. That's like that interesting. Synaptic Nexus, I guess. And get rerolls. Oh, I guess it's Vanguard. We can combo it with Vanguard, and we can give all the melee warriors advance and charge, right? So we can take that's probably actually the call, right? So it's like you get 3 units of melee warriors with advance and charge. You can take the ranged warriors and do whatever. And then the like your Lash Whip primes can just go into Hormagon squads and they can advance and charge too. And then you just have 6 warrior units. They can all advance and charge and run around places. That's probably pretty good. And then you can like get cover, lone operative, and an invuln save. All right, I'm in. That's actually that sounds really fun. I'm gonna level. I'm kind of into that army. I might play that. Also, just gives you an enormous amount of strength 6 melee, which is just, if you've ever played Tyranids, you have no idea how valuable that is. If you're like a Chad Space Marine player and you're like, man, strength 6 is like my baseline. If I'm not a Liberator Assault group guy charging, or I don't have Lance baked into my datasheet, or I don't have an entire unit of guys with Power Fist, melee is not that. If melee is like I wound everything on 4s most of the time. And then you go play Tyranids, you're like, oh my god, that guy's toughness 10? I'm dead. I could never kill him. But when you play Tyranid Warriors, they're all strength 6 with twin links, so they actually can kill stuff sometimes. Pretty neat. I'm in on Warrior Bioform Vanguard Onslaught. That's probably sick. Yeah, I think Vanguard's the way to go for sure. Norns were sold out recently. That's funny. It's just, man, I wish Norns were cooler, dude. I do think that this detachment helps, but it's such a boring unit, you know? Go to objective, become high OC, score. Cool, dude. You want me to kill something? No? All right, get fucked, I guess. But yeah, I'll play this shit. This seems awesome. I'm actually, as a warrior enjoyer, I'm actually very excited about this. I think it's gonna be cool, especially because there's not that much, like overlap between the warrior. There's not like that much competition for the enhancement slots. So having a bunch of good enhancements that are just like make you really spooky is awesome. 36 warriors? I don't know about 36. I'll run 18 though, for sure. I think or 24, I guess. I'll run 3 primes, 6 primes, and 18 melee warriors. Absolutely. And then the ranged warriors actually, well, the ranged warriors might be good. What are they point costing at right now? 36? Or 30 or 65? 36. Could you imagine? Holy shit. They are currently 65. It's the same as 10 Termagants, but the funny thing is that like 3 50 mils and 10 28s don't actually like aren't that different from a screening perspective. And these guys are like easier to hide and have a trillion melee attacks. So like for utility units, they might be good. The problem is their base movement characteristic is fucking trash. They just move 6 dudes. And I think that move 6 dudes without a movement buff is like, they'll just never get there, right? There's like maybe some instances where you can like start hidden and then run them to a different hidden spot and then run to an objective, but it takes like 2 or 3 turns to get to like the expansion objectives if your baseline move 6, whereas like a move 10 or something is going to just like close the gap immediately. And so I don't know how helpful these guys are in general. If they were higher movement, if they were move 8, I would be all in. But like I'm actively looking for ways to more efficiently screen the backline, because I think that's something that all factions have to do, have to keep in mind, because it's so much more difficult to passively screen. And being able to do it with like little units that are cheap is good. I think the answer is Neurogons. I don't think the answer is ranged weapon, ranged bioweapon Tyranid warriors. but maybe it is. I don't know. These guys, like, if you do get back there, these guys will fuck you up. Like, they have fucking 15 melee attacks. And if you take Devourers, they shoot 15 times in ranged 2. Or they take a Venom Cannon and blast you. I just wish they were 3+ weapon skill. That part annoys me. The 4+ ballistic skill makes me sad. That makes me sad, and I have a little cry about it when they miss a bunch of attacks. Especially because they hit on 5s into cover, which sucks. Currently, Old One Eye does have to lead Carnifexes to be good. Yeah, unfortunately. Which I think kills him. Tyranids, they do seem to be getting hit a lot by, like, core mechanics and stuff, but it's probably not the end of the world. But because you can't chain off of another unit fighting, large base melee is basically dead. If your base is larger than 2 inches, you're effectively as a multi-entity close combat unit, you're basically like dead on arrival, because it's so difficult to get all of your models engaged. It's probably not it's like not impossible, but if you don't bang the massive charge, you will oftentimes be left with one model unable to fight. I would love it if there was like a little something we could still base off base for large models, but I don't think they're going to do that. Which is sad because there's a lot of like 60 mil base multi-model units or cavalry where like engaging your opponent is just impossible. You're going to get running 31 Dark Angels of Bikers was rough. Yeah. Seems bad. Ultimately, though, I think I'm pretty excited for Tyranids. I think Tyranids, well, assuming that we don't all die to Tau, I think Tyranids are maybe looking pretty good. Mass psychic attacks plus battle shock stuff plus good scoring plus fast. All these are strong. These are just good effects to have. So, I don't know. I think it's going to be sweet. I've had a phenomenally fun time running Vanguard Onslaught so far in 11th edition. And I think I'm going to keep doing it. Vanguard Onslaught's really fun. I kind of forgot how fun Vanguard Onslaught was, to be honest. Just be like doing weird chicanery, weird reserve chicanery and uppy downies and all this bullshit is really cool. It's cool and fun and based. All right. Let's talk about 6x3 melee warriors. Yeah, but you got to deliver them. I saw like people play that in Subterranean, which makes a lot of sense to me. But fuck me, getting a 6-inch move melee unit into combat, good luck with that. I don't know, man. I do like the idea of like, just like, I think every Tyranid list, assuming they don't like massively upcharge them, is probably just going to start with 3 Tyranid primes, because Tyranid primes are such a good skirmishing unit, and they're move 10. But the move 6 dude, I don't know, man. I don't know if that guy's getting anywhere, to be perfectly honest. Like your opponent's ability to contest your objectives from very like outside of 6-inch moving models threat range is really easy. Although like 1 or 2 units in reserve is probably not too bad because they can rapid ingress a lot of times into terrain and then move and charge. But it's still a little tough. I don't know. It's very inconsistent. And the fact that you're charging is graded on a bell curve, and -1 to that distance can have a massive effect, right? If you go from an 8-inch charge to a 9-inch charge, it's a massive proportion of your charge roll that you're losing, or a 7 to an 8. And being a slow model, you very oftentimes have to make those 7 or 8-inch charges, which means you just fail and then you die. So I don't know about the little 6 model, like the little 3 model units of those guys. You could run like Genestealers, like 5-man Genestealers. It would probably be better, and it's not that much more expensive. So actually, this is interesting. I should probably run 5-man Genestealer units more. I kind of like on principle, sort of like kind of shit on Genestealers, but for little 5-mans with Scout and Advance and Charge and Vanguard, probably pretty good. Are Castellan robots DOA? I think the melee Castellans are. The gun Castellans might be okay, but I think like the double punch bot, I have no fucking idea how you get value out of that unit in this edition. It seems so bad, which is awkward because it's a unit that already was bad, and they were like, "Let's change the core mechanics to make them even worse." And you're like, "Cool, man. I appreciate that." It would be cool if you had like, if you could like 1 inch off 1 inch or base off base, for like mounted and monster vehicle multi-model units specifically. I think that would be probably the way to do it, because then you could make a lot of those units much more interesting. Melee dreadnoughts. So that only, to be clear, that only the interaction we're talking about is only relevant for large based multi-entity units. So like 4 Castellan robots. If you have 2 Castellan robots, I guess, like, to clarify, 2 Castellan robots might be okay. Because you can get 2 Castellan robots in melee. 4 Castellan robots, there's no way. You're going to get 2 guys that don't get to fight, and you're paying like 250 points for them or whatever it is. Like, they're like 90 points model, I think, right? So like 180 points of guys that you made a charge with that now can't fight. Awesome. We love that. 2 models probably okay. Single entities are having a fucking awesome day, dude. They're having so much fun. Now, if they're slow, you're gonna hit all the problems of being slow, so that's an issue. If I'm like a 6-inch move box dread, I'm not getting into melee anytime soon, especially because I can't even use hidden mechanics either. So I'm getting hit from all angles. If you're like the solar spearhead, like hyper fast, like Power Ranger dreadnought, you're gonna have a good time. You're eating good, bro. The fact that you don't have to charge into base contact means that those models are like so dynamic with how they move. It's actually awesome. They get to like charge, and then they get to move, and then they get to go to an objective, and they tank shock the unit, pile in, like kill them, consolidate back. They're like jumping all over the place. It's really fun. The single entities are fine. It's when we stack like 4 of those guys together into a unit, and things just go off the rails. It's really bad. All right, let's talk about Genestealer Cults next. Genestealers. Let's see. Cult Ambush. Start with 6, 10, 14 resurgence points. Each time your army is destroyed, if your model in the unit has the ability to spend the relevant number of resurgence points, shown below based on the unit's starting strength. A new unit to your army identical to your destroyed unit. How does that work if I'm a character? Do I get the character? It kind of seems like I do. Based on the starting strength, I guess it's like. So if I have, does this work actually? Wait a minute, how does this work? So if I have, for example, a neophyte hybrid unit of 20 models with a Primus, so it's 21 models with starting strength, can I bring it back? I don't know. Characters. Oh, they don't have the ability? Oh no! Oh no! Chat! Well, it's fine. It's not like Genestealer Cults are a faction that's constructed around buffing units with characters. Oh no! They blew it up. Oh fuck. That's so bad. So, but the problem is, like, how do you do it with a character? You must say that, like, oh, but it's like so weird. If you kill the unit and the character lives, right? You can't regen the unit, even if you say, oh, when a unit's destroyed, excluding any characters, add a model like a unit back to the army with the same size. But your unit's not destroyed until the character's dead, right? So if like your Biophagus in your 20-man Neophyte Hybrid Squad lives, your opponent's like, all right, you live there, bud. And he's like, no, kill me. kill me. And he's like wandering around. Please kill me. I want 20 neophyte hybrids back. And you're like, nope. You make your one your little last cannon shot every turn, and you just hang out there, bud. You wait until I get assassination, and then I'll kill you. And you don't get your unit back. I don't know how they make this work at all. Yeah, you just respond trash pieces. That's probably, I mean, yeah, the correct thing is that, like, it's all the fucking hand flamer acolyte hybrids. They're just coming back constantly. Like, all right, boys. It's pure straight Genestealers and hand flamer acolyte hybrids just like constantly regenerating. All right, guys. I guess we're shouldering this game. Here we go. Put the whole game on my back. I think that just kills Host of Ascension, though, right? Because, like, Host of Ascension's whole deal was that you just windmill slam 20 neophytes into people over and over and over again. Oh, no. That's so bad. Yikes. Yeah. So this is going to be really hard to judge because I have no idea how this army works. Interesting. I don't know if there's a lot of other changes. The demolition charge cache went up in range. Is that a thing that already existed? On the Goliath truck? Oh, that must have happened previously. I just didn't notice. This all seems like mostly normal stuff. Reactive effects change to 8 inches. Things change to surge moves instead of, you know, blood surge or whatever. Can't target the knife guy with snap shooting. Creeping shadow. Models equipped with a cult sniper rifle in your opponent's movement phase if an enemy ends a move with an 8. Yeah, that's just the update to how reactions work. Interesting. Well, we'll see how we feel about this. That's super awkward for Genestealer Cults. I hope that they fix that shortly. This is certainly the worst of these that we've seen, but not the only one, as we've talked about over the course of this. Well, let's talk about detachment points real quick while we're here. So obviously the new stuff is 1 detachment point. The only one that is 3 is Host of Ascension. So you're going to be able to wombo combo any of these with Biosanctic Breed Surge, which is already phenomenal. Xenocreed Congregation and Outlander Claw both occasionally see play as well. So it feels to me like there is going to be a lot of really interesting compositions for Genestealer Cults. One of them could potentially being Heroes of the Uprising, which gives you reroll once to hit and wound for Kelemorph, Locust, Reductus Saboteur, or Sanctus units, which is like you always play at least 2 of in most armies. Maybe not 3 or 4. Locust or Sanctus can get +1 damage on all their attacks, so either their sniper rifle or their knife, which is cool. Keep in mind, though, this was a whole discussion we had when this effect was initially previewed. We were like, man, the Locust can like target a character unit with his like reroll effect, and then go and just dome their character immediately. But you still need to have line of sight to the character, and it's much more difficult for a single entity to do that. It's not the end. It's not impossible for something in a big unit to be able to do it. If they get a big charge, they pile and consolidate, they do a slingshot, they get a guy with line of sight to the character. If the character's trying to hide, it's much more difficult for a single entity to do it. So just something to keep in mind. I think a lot of people were like, well, precision is going to be insane. It lets you move models in in attack allocation, and all you have to do is have line of sight to the unit. No. You have to have line of sight to the character, and you move that character. You don't move other models in the attack allocation. You only move the character around. Kelemorph or Reductus Saboteur can get ranged attacks to +2 strength. Does that put a Kellermorph too? 6? Or, 8? It does. Ooh, that's pretty good. Kellermorph starts at 6, goes to 8, and the Reductus, I don't know what the Reductus's explosives are. The Reductus go from strength 5 to 7 for their indirect, or strength 11 on their demo charge. Sick. I mean, the Kellermorph's going to get more chances to shoot, most likely, though, right? Because they have the reactive attacks. So it probably goes farther on the Kellermorph, but plus 2 strength on a strength 9 is a big deal. That's a huge breakpoint. But this guy could just keep blasting. So anyway, I started blasting. Also, he forces out of activation battle shock checks. Spoopy. That's pretty spooky. All right. Stratagems. We can kill a guy with a killer and then unbattle shock a Genestealer Cult unit within 12. That's neat. I like that from a top-down design standpoint. Surging Brood Worship gives killer models devastating wounds. What? What? These guys, chat, are anti-infantry. Oh my god! You can give this guy +1 damage and he just sinks in for 18 mortals to an infantry unit. Oh boy. I mean, it's not 18. It's probably closer to 9. Between 12 and 9, most likely. Oh, but it's reroll hits and wounds of 1. It's actually probably 15 mortal wounds. This guy's disgusting. That's extremely strong. That's very good. Oh my. I don't like that. Oh man. This guy's gonna heroically intervene and he's gonna ruin someone's day. I'm so ready for it. They're like, all right, well, I'll just charge in with my Indomitor kill team, and I'll just be over here, and I'm gonna kill all these units on this objective, take the objective. Be like, heroically intervene with my Sanctus, and the Sanctus wanders over, engages one multi-melta Indomitor, gets punched for 0 damage, and then kills the whole unit. Holy shit. That's really good. Wow. All right. Okay. Well. Epic challenge. Yeah, just kill Calgar. So the weird thing is that there's actually anti-synergy between precision and devastating wounds, because you apply failed saves from precision first, then devastating wounds hit. So you precision Calgar, and all the low saves go onto Calgar, which is where you want the devastating attacks to go. But unlike previous edition, you don't get to choose which attacks get precisioned. It's just all or none of your attacks, one or the other, right? For that attack group. So if you roll a bunch of devastating wounds and then a bunch of I guess in this case, he's just going to roll all devastating wounds, so it doesn't really matter. But if you roll a bunch of devastating wounds into a normal target, where you also have normal wounds on, the devastating wounds will go to the normal guys, because if the character dies first, which is super weird. In this case, because he's just hitting everything on 3s, it doesn't really matter. But that is something to keep in mind. That's just that's so good. That's so good. The Shanktus, indeed. What's so funny is that I wasn't necessarily sure if the +1 damage was right for the melee dude, but now we know he has devastating wounds. It absolutely is. It's not even close to being a question. That's crazy. Loyal to the end. When an enemy unit targets a friendly killer unit, when a killer model in your unit is destroyed, if your unit has not been selected to fight, you roll a d6, and on a 2+, you fight on death. I on a 1, they take 1 mortal wound. He's no, he stabs one guy in the foot. But on a 2+, you fight. Oh, that's interesting. So, did they change other fight on deaths to be this way? So it's do not remove the model from the battlefield. When your unit has fought or at the end of the phase, remove the model from the battlefield. Which is curious. So there are instances where you might use this even when you aren't fighting. Just because it like prevents your opponent, your opponent, the opposing unit, from being able to objective consolidate or something. So if you're like, oh, I'm going to charge that dude, I'm going to kill him, and then an objective consolidate to tow the objective you're on, and you go, no, I'm loyal to the end, bitch, and the guy stays there, and they're like, I have to move towards him. He's still there, and then he goes away at the end of the phase. That's such a cool stratagem. And then if he hasn't fought, he swings. Dude, this detachment rules. This detachment's so cool. I mean, it's like the Sanctus detachment. You're just like playing all Sanctuses all the time. But I love it. Dude, I love this stuff. These are so good. I'm in. The Quinn's 4+ Final Death is the same? Oh, okay. That's good to know. I like that. The one Mortal Wound is a self, didn't it? Yeah, so it's like but they kill him and he like gets one swing back and then he just like he hits like one guy in the head and then he dies. Versus getting his whole turn. Pure Strain Brood Swarm. At the end of your opponent's fight phase, a friendly unengaged Pure Strain Genestealer unit can push into restricted reserve. You can uppy downy all your Pure Strains, which is good. Do Pure Strains deep strike? That's a good question, actually. I don't know. I assume that they do because they are Genestealer Cult infantry, but they're also weird Genestealer Cult infantry. They do deep strike. So uppy downy with deep strike is very good. The reason for that is that in the late game, you get to up, hold, and then rapid ingress them in your opponent's turn into hidden, so they can't shoot you, and then you just run and charge and then you kill them. And because Pure Strain Genestealers are move 8 with advance and charge, they can close the 15 or 12-inch gap between you and the unit you're hiding from really easily. So I think this was originally like, oh, neat. You can reposition. Like as your guys go through the end of the game, oh, I can hide in the terrain feature, and then I can just jump into the fight later or whatever. I think that we've recontextualized our evaluation of up-down effects, especially with Deep Strike on your datasheet. And in my opinion, they are crazy strong because the ability to ingress into a charge is really, really good. Let's see. Mark of the Star Children gives Pure Strain Genestealers +1 toughness, 4+ save, +1 strength. Solid. 4+ save is kind of whatever, but it's not the end of the world, I guess. And then Talons of the Sire's Patriarch, you get reroll wounds of 1. So he becomes kind of a Broodlord, sort of. Those are both fine, I guess. I don't know if they're the most exciting thing in the world, but they're both fine. I guess +1 strength and Pure Strains is good because they go to strength 5. And pushing to strength 5 is a big break point, so that's solid. Lurk and Strike gives you fallback and charge. We love that. Crawling Horror gives you -6 detection range. Used at the start of your opponent's movement phase. Don't forget to use it. Don't forget. If you forget, I'm not going to let you go back after I move my whole army. And Human Reactions is a reactive move. You move D3 plus your impression G. So this is also good. Man, these detachments are actually sick. Now, it doesn't give you battle line or anything, so it only affects 3 units, which is a little limited in its use case. But you can use it with Biosanctic, right? Which seems really good. That gives you +1 attack and +1 to charge, which means when you're doing these rapid ingress plays or even just reserve plays, right? You're making 8-inch charges out of reserve, so you can just bang 8 charges into people. And then Pure Strain Genestealers, if we are assuming that things don't change with the army rule, which I think would be a pretty wild assumption, but who knows with GW, Pure Genestealers are one of the units that you are going to most consistently respawn. I think these might be my favorite detachments so far. They might. I don't know if they're the best, but god damn, are they pretty good? Xeno Cult Masses. When your neophyte hybrids are within a terrain area, you heal 3 wounds in your command phase. That is, importantly, in command step, because the same command phase rule applies, where anything that happens in command phase but doesn't have a specific timing always happens in command step, which is importantly now after battle shock checks. So you can't heal yourself above half strength and then not have to take a battle shock check. You have to take a battle shock check first. So this is a little bit worse than we originally understood. You can be inspired to greatness, which gives you real damage rolls on a Magus or Primus unit. Devious disguises, which gives you -3 detection range, which is good. Start your shooting phase, you can target a neophyte hybrid unit within a terrain area. It gives you +6 detection range on enemy units inside the same terrain area. I mean, I guess you like run a guy over, or you like ingress and then run in and then pay a CP. But god, that's a lot of work. Other factions are just like pick a guy with a 12. I don't know, fuck it. These guys have to be in a terrain area. The enemy has to be in a terrain area, and you have to be in a terrain area, and you have to be in the same terrain area, and then you get the detection range bonus. And obviously, for the most part, you're in a terrain area because you're hidden. But sometimes you can be hidden in the open, right? Or I guess that's not true. So you have to go into the terrain that they're hiding in. I don't know. That seems like a lot of work. Fanatical Hail. You can get reroll hit rolls targeting 1 enemy unit. I mean, that is really good. It's important to note, though, that this can't be comboed with a Host of Ascension in a Strike Force game, which is going to be the point. Like that's going to be the most common place you're going to see mass neophyte hybrids. So I don't know. I don't know about this detachment. I think we had 2 bangers, and then we just have a kind of okay detachment. Slunk from the Underbelly gives ranged attacks. Yeah, we saw this one in the preview. Ranged attacks targeting your neophyte hybrid squad get -1 AP. Okay, sure, man. I guess I'll go from not having a save to having a 5+ save or a 6+ save. I suppose that's good. And I mean, we are healing 1 million wounds, right? We have our banner, we're healing. We have our thing, we're healing. A lot of guys back. So if you don't kill the unit, we're probably respawning them. And then obsecking the objective. So, like, realistically, is it good? Probably. Is it flashy and interesting? No. Not that interesting. So, I don't know. We already looked through all this stuff. So, Biosecond Research change a stratagem here? What is this? Stimulated Biosurge? Oh, interesting. So there were a couple changes we missed on the first overview there. This was... So this stratagem used to give you +1 to charge based on the number of targets you declared, but because you don't have to declare targets anymore, it's just 1 CP for +2 to charge. It's actually sick. I don't have to like jump through hoops and find like a specific position where I can successfully complete a charge against 1 million enemy units to get the bonus. I just get +2 charge. I can just charge out of reserve on a 6. Okay. Without having to do anything. I just pay a command point. I guess the downside is, this is a big downside. Unless I have baked in charge reroll somewhere, I cannot reroll that charge. So that is a big deal. That's a huge difference. So it's a 6 with no modifiers. Or a 6 with no safety net, essentially. That is the problem. I could get 2 chances at an 8 or 1 chance at a 6. I wonder what's better. What's the statistical? It's a 72% chance to roll a 6 or higher. And it's like a 60% chance, 56% chance to roll an 8 with a reroll. So it is better to get +2 to charge, I guess. But it's not like almost near guaranteed, right? A 6 with a reroll isn't happening. That is actually a big change. Sort of contextualizing that is a huge deal. Interesting stuff, chat. Yeah, so rerolling 8 is definitely not better. So an 8 on just a baseline 8 is a 40% chance. An 8 with a reroll is I guess it's a little bit better than I gave it credit for. It's 66%. So it's only a difference of like whatever 7 or 8%, but it is better to get the +2, the baseline +2 to charge. But here's the thing: is that we get both of them, not on the same unit, but in the same phase. So if we go +2 to charge on these guys, we're likely to bang the 6. Reroll charge on this guy, we're likely to bang the 8, and then we're in.
At Fate Weaver 9 donated $5 through Super Chat. The odds of rolling a 6 to charge is like 30% in demonic incursion.
So fucking true, dude. The funny thing is that like your opponent always expects it. You're like, all right, you're just gonna up down, you're gonna 6-inch deep strike, and then you're gonna make the charge, so it'll be whatever. And then you like fail, and you reroll, and you fail, and you're like, I just live here, I guess. And your opponent's like, oh, I think I win. You're like, yeah, maybe. I'm worried about demonic incursion because I do think that well, I'm interested to see where the big smashy demons end up. I think like Lords of Change are great, but if you're up downing Lords of Change all day, Scintillating Legion's better. Like it's just better, and it sucks to say, but like it just is what it is. And then having to go from rolling 6s out of Deep Strike to rolling 7s is a big difference. Especially because the difference in screening between an 8 to a 6 is not that huge. It is a big deal, but it's not as transformative as a 9-inch area denial area from a screening unit to a 6-inch. So I think people are going to be more prepared for it. So I'm curious to see where Demonic Incursion ends up. Not to say that I think demons are not going to be good. I think demons are going to be great, but I'm a little bit worried that demons are going to be great off the back of a Scintillating Legion, which I would prefer not to have again. Can we please not just only play Scintillating Legion forever? But yeah, Genestealer Cult, beyond the army rule being fucked, I actually think look kind of sick. And I do wonder, like, there is playing, like, you can play around the dearth of the army rule. I do think like mass neophyte hybrids is going to be still good. And I don't know how good that is without Cult Ambush being able to respawn them. So that might be, I say they're good, but I think they're good from like sort of a mechanical standpoint rather than necessarily like good in context. But I am worried about how their capacity to really do anything without having access to the ability to respawn the neophyte units. So that feels like it could be really bad. But the other, like the Biosyncing Breach Surge builds, I think seem fine. The Outlander Claw builds feel largely unaffected. And they also just get to either apply in this like sick Sanctus build where you just get this like little cadre of fucking like cutthroats, or you build you play what is most likely, I think, is that you start taking the Pure Strength Genestealer detachment, because then your Pure Strength Genestealers get huge amounts of additional value. I think it's cool. Yeah. I think the one place it seems like it's going to make a big difference is Host of Ascension, which also means it sucks that Host of Ascension's 3 detachment points, right? It feels like if it was the intention that that's how it worked, they maybe would not have made Host as expensive as they have. but I can't say that for sure. But man, it does kind of feel like Genestealer Cults might be in a good spot if they revert that change and make it in some way mechanically work, that a unit can lose the unit, not the character, and then respawn the bodyguard. You just say, like, if the last model of bodyguard unit is destroyed, blah blah blah, you can use this ability as if it wasn't an attached unit or something. Would probably fix it. If that is available, I think Genestealer Cult look phenomenal, because I think of a lot of interesting build variety. If that's not available, I still think they look good. They're probably just less reliant on previous strategies. No aberrant revive, yeah, is a big deal for sure. It's Necron time. Let's walk like an Egyptian spaceman. Hand of the Dynasty gets hyper mobility protocols. It gives you advance into action for Immortals and Necron Warriors. You can give Immortal units Rapid Fire 1. You can give Necron Warriors Scout 5. Importantly, here's an important thing to note, which is important for all of these. It has been indicated by previous discussion that these are not, in fact, synergistic with existing enhancements. So if you have an upgrade on a unit, the implication is either, and we're not entirely sure how this works, either you cannot attach characters to that unit full stop, or you can't attach characters with enhancements to that unit. So a lot of the stuff where we're like, it would be crazy if we put the Plasmancer with the thing and the World Warden with the other thing, and you stuck them all together into a unit. On any of these, that's most likely not gonna happen. So, like, be taking, like, oh man, if we took, the full warrior wombo combo and gave them scout, it's going to be insane. Except that the full warrior wombo combo probably won't have any of its existing enhancements, and may not even have any characters attached. If that's the case, these are really bad because these units are reliant almost entirely on characters being attached. If it's just not synergistic with existing enhancements, it's not the end of the world. It's probably reasonable. All right. The other thing we should do is talk about detachment points. So, Star Shader Arsenal got priority detachments, good fucks. Our priority assets is 3 detachment points. Canoptech Court is 3 detachment points. And Awakened Dynasty is 3 detachment points. I guess Necrons do have one of the largest selection of detachments out of any, especially non-Chaos, non-Imperium faction. So it does make sense that they would have a greater breadth of 3 detachment point detachments, but that is a big deal. Big one, though, that people have been pointing out, Cursed Legion, 2 detachment points. Hoo boy. A lot of interesting things to go on over there. It's also likely, and we'll see exactly how this looks, but it's likely that you're going to be able to put together Pharaon's Armory and Hypercrypt Legion, which might be disgusting. I don't know. We'll see. I'm a little interested in how that goes, because then we have multiple sets of overlapping defensive technology for the big vehicles. So that might be really good. I don't know. Also, big shoot. Big fast shoot, very good in this edition, so that might also be solid. We'll see. We'll see how things go. Oops, that's Genestealer Cults. Let's go back to where we were. So, wrapping things up on Hand of the Dynasty. So you can't combo this with Awakened Dynasty in Strike Force, because that's how it goes. But also, we have some stratagems. We can get +1 OC to Immortal units, not too bad. In any command phase, which is interesting. Will of the Conqueror. Selects one objective your unit is controlling at Obsex for Immortals or Necron Warriors, not too bad. And Nano Saturation. When an enemy targets you, you can shoot back, which is good for, it's okay for more Immortals, but I don't know necessarily if that's really what we're doing here. Unless you have like a bunch of overlapping buffs on a mortal squad. Where we're taking like the if we could take it with Canoptic Core, we could like do all the weird Canoptic Core. I guess you typically do that in Canoptic Core because they get rerolls, but you don't reroll on snap shooting, so it's very limited utility. But if you can get like sustained lethal wound rerolls or whatever on immortal squads, it's probably not too bad. What we should do is go through the errata section and see if anything changed. Annihilation Legion changes to Canoptic Core, which we sort of have expected. Hypercrypt Legion, Cosmic Precision, excludes monsters. They have never... This annoys me, chat. So there's that rule at Space Wolves where it's like you can reroll countercharge rolls. Which is, what the fuck is that? What the fuck is a countercharge roll? Is it a roll used during the resolution of a heroic intervention stratagem being used via the countercharge detachment ability? Is that what you mean? This is the same problem, and this has existed since the beginning of 10th. You can arrive using hyperphasing. Hyperphasing is a detachment roll that lets you put your guy in strategic reserve. What the fuck is arriving using hyperphasing? Stupid. Also, arriving via Deep Strike isn't really a thing anymore because you arrive via Ingress and Deep Strike just changes where you come in. That makes a little bit more sense because you could be like, if we're using a Deep Strike ability to come in 8 inches away from enemies rather than 6 inches off a table edge, I get it. But arriving via hyperphasing is meaningless. It's stupid. That just like, it annoys me that they would reprint the errata but not fix that problem because that problem's been there since the beginning of the edition. Fucking stupid as hell. It just makes me mad. It makes me mad that it's still there. Like, we have an opportunity to go through and change this stuff, and we just didn't do it because we didn't think about it. A bunch of stuff gets frame keyword. A bunch of stuff gets hover keyword. Support gets added to a bunch of things. What's interesting, I guess a question for me is the Royal Warden a support character? Nope. Could the Royal Warden dual attach with Overlords? I thought they could. Am I crazy? Oh, maybe they couldn't. Maybe I'm an insane person. Maybe I am. I guess that just feels weird. I sort of would have assumed that they could do that, but I guess they can't, and I never realized. Interesting. But it seems like he's not getting the support keyword in any case, so it doesn't really matter. We can retain dual attaching Cryptex in alongside him, which is good. That does turn on a lot of the stratagems we were talking about. Eternity Gate selects a Necron infantry unit either in strategic reserve or on the battlefield. That unit makes an ingress move, must be set up wholly within 6 inches of this unit and not engage with enemy units that cannot make a charge move this turn. And it does explicitly exclude the first battle round. Love that. Because that is the rule for ingress moves now. Neat. There's some stuff with these things. Does the Canoptic Core Auto Divinator enhancement trigger when an army rule, such as Code Chivalric, awards a player CP? Or an opponent discards a secondary mission to per command point? No, it only triggers when your opponent gains command points as a result of an ability. Army rules, I guess, are not abilities. I wonder if that's new rules, because I believe that they have been explicitly ruled as abilities in 10th edition. That must be new. Abilities must be specifically things that are on your datasheet now. Wait, no. Your army rules just in your ability section. What the fuck? I don't understand. I don't get it, chat. I don't get it. Auto Dominator gives you a command point as a result of an ability. Why wouldn't an army roll count for that? We'll have to see the addendum probably. That really doesn't make any sense. You cannot arrive in the first battle round from hyperphasing. Let's go. Trigger Wraithform on reactive moves. Activate reanimation protocols. Do rules that activate reanimation protocols, e.g., Protocol of Undying Legions, only apply to a bodyguard unit whose attached leader is on the battlefield if one or more models from the bodyguard unit are also on the battlefield? Oh, interesting. So apparently, if I have a reactive reanimation and I've lost my bodyguard unit, I cannot target the character with it to reanimate the bodyguard, which is not supported by rules that we've seen currently, but probably is further clarified in the addendum document, which we still don't have, which is really annoying, and I hate that. Can a unit be affected by a resurrection orb more than once per turn? Interesting. All right, well, good to know. Interesting. Let's see. Let's talk about some detachments, folks. Yeah, we talked about this one. It has some interesting stuff, but I think the lack of synergy with any of the detachments that really want you to be attaching units together means that it's going to be of limited use case, in my opinion. Sky Shroud Spearhead is the weird one that affects mounted units, but whose ability only affects Tomb Blades. It kind of doesn't really matter, but it is what it is. Your Tomb Blades get Deep Strike, and if you ingress, you get +1 to hit. The ability to take this alongside Hypercrypt Legion has interesting implications because you can bounce Tomb Blades around and constantly get +1 to hit on them, which is like kind of neat. You can get Recursive Reanimation, which gives you +1 to roll on reanimation protocols. Tomb Blades, especially if you take 6s, are actually really difficult to fully kill. If they have like any of their defensive technology active, so like their 5+ invulnerable save or whatever, it can be really tough to take them down. So I actually don't hate that upgrade. You can give Destroyer Cult mounted units Assault, which is also good, except that you cannot combo that with any of the other enhancements of the game, which is where your Destroyer Cult mounted units will really want to be. I do think that there's probably a use case for this on like, if it's cheap, using it on like one-man heavy Locust Heavy Destroyers is actually pretty interesting, but I don't know how often we're going to be putting it on like a big unit of Locust Destroyers. I actually really don't. I understand why they are doing it this way, but I don't like the implication that you can't put upgrades and enhancements together in the same unit, because I do think it limits a lot of like the really cool combos you could deliver. Omni Locked Strafing gives Necron mounted units fall back and shoot. That's extremely good. That's actually probably vital for Locust Destroyers, because once Locust Destroyers get stuck in melee, they're like reliant entirely on the Destroyer Lord's like fucking shitty sword, and otherwise they don't do anything. So being able to fall back and shoot is like hugely viable for them. Unengaged Necron mounted units get a reactive move, D3+3, fucking extremely good also. And then evasive protocols, enemy ranged attacks with a strength greater than your unit's toughness characteristic combines 1 to wound. I wonder if there is a combination between this and like, I think Hypercrypt is immediately the thing, because you can take a Risen Tyrant on your Locust Destroyers, and then you can up-down them and like Cosmic Precision and just blast people. And then you also get the benefit on the Tomb Blades to get their little +1 hit more often. But the other one is Curse Legion, where you want the bonus strength on Destroyer Cults. And so being able to like bounce around destroy the Locust Destroyer units and like fall back and shoot with them and stuff is also really good. So this seems like it has actually. I was kind of like making fun of this because it seemed like a very confused design. Like the Tomb Blades, the ability is entirely Tomb Blades, but everything else is like all Locust and Locust Heavy Destroyer like coded. Like the -1 to wound makes it more difficult for you to one-shot a Locust Locust unit, because a lot of times like there's a big Locust unit and your opponent points all their 3 damage blast guns at it and it just vaporizes, but -1 to wound can keep them going. A reactive move can make it more difficult to get them. Fall back and shoot is fucking awesome. Like literally all of these are great for those. So I don't know. I think these are awesome. Yeah, AP2 is much better as well. And the fact that they can access hit rerolls in a couple different ways means that like they don't care so much about cover. It just feels like really good. I think this detachment is actually super strong. I would not be surprised if like this plus Hypercrypt is like just meta. Or that plus Curse Legion. And you just reserve the guys normally and you just pop in and shoot people. Pharaon's Armory. And so as we've seen, right? And I guess it's like worth double checking. If we just like search Hypercrypts, doesn't get a tag. So as we've seen, no existing Codex attachments are getting tags at all. I guess for now. It's probably a lever they can pull to nerf specific detachments where they can give it the Hypercrypt tag if the combination between Pharaon's Armory and Hypercrypt Legion is too good. But we'll see. So the big thing about Hypercrypt Legion is that you can up down your Titanic units and and you can like cosmic precision them, so you can like bounce them around the table really easily. They also get +6 inches of movement, so if you are like ingressing or cosmic precisioning, it's crazy. Although in fairness, I don't think you can ingress them, at least in the current wording, because you can't bring them off the table edge. They're too big. +6 movement is wild. So they go to move 14 and they can hop over terrain features and spin for free. So they're fucking fast as fuck, boy. They're also really hard to kill because you can get -1 AP, and if you play them in Hypercrypt Legion, you get a 4+ invuln save. If you don't have it already. You can get Pre-Locational Optimizer, which gives you lethal or sustained 1. Oh, excuse me. If you jump out of a Monolith Eternity Gate this turn. Not too bad. You can put that on like a Plasmancer that is in a Immortal unit. Oh, but I guess you can't get you can't get a Risen Tyrant alongside this. God, see, this is what I'm talking about with like the combos available to adding multiple enhancements together are so cool. But you can't do it. It's so lame. Like, if you could take a Risen Tyrant, and then you have on a Plasmancer and a Royal Warden with this, and then you uppy downy using a Monolith, and you get full hit and wound rerolls, sustained lethal critical 5s, that's fucking sick. But you can't do it. You're not allowed. Maybe it would be too good. I don't know. But it is what it is. I don't know. As an Obelisk upgrade, your opponent's battle shock check if an enemy within 8 inches is below starting strength that makes battle shock roll. Cool, man. That's what obelisks needed. There is a strat for +1 AP on obelisks, but it also affects Tesseract Vaults, and that's what you're going to be using it on because Tesseract Vaults are sick. Particle Pulse is a Titanic flying unit. Selects a visible enemy unit within 12. It gains +3 detection range. All right. Okay. I guess what's interesting, I guess you can't target hidden units that are not already within 12. Like if they are gone to ground with a detection modifier and they're like detection 9 and you're 12 inches but not 9, you can't target it with the strat because you have to see them, and hidden prevents you from being seen. That's so funny. Like the ones where it's like on a unit that's already relatively fast and it's like plus not a 6 detection range or something makes sense, but +3 doesn't feel like it's actually that helpful. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Like it doesn't even let the unit using it really see you that, better. And then you get Armor of Contempt for the big units, the big vehicles. I guess here's the real question. Is is this better in Hypercrypt because we can up down, or is it better in Obsessence Phalanx? I think this might be an Obsessence detachment, chat. Because we can get -1 damage on these things in addition to the AP characteristic modifier. Not in the same unit, obviously, the same turn, but we can have 2 units with armor penetration modifiers. And this also, they give the Silent King Triarch, right? Yeah, so he gets affected by the Obsessence ability. And it feels kind of like you want to take Silent King because you can give an additional +2 movement to these guys so they can go to move 16. So they're just zipping around. Woo! So this could be a wombo with Obsessence Phalanx. That would be kind of sick. I also wonder if there's play with like... probably not. Like Hand of the Dynasty? No. I think this is where you want to be taking... If you're taking Obsessence, you want... And you want to do the big stuff. It's probably good. Otherwise, I don't really know what you're doing with your 1-point detachments. I guess like you might take 5-man Immortals just for like the ability to advance and do actions. If you don't have any of the other explicit synergies. This is a funny faction because the 1-point detachments, rather than being relatively like open-ended, like the Genestealer Cult one is like buff your Pure Strains, a unit you're going to be taking in duplicates already. Okay, like buff your Kellermorphs and Sanctus, which are probably models you already had. So if you're like, all right, I'm buffing these things I'm already taking. Or even Tyranids, which is like buff Lictors. Like, all right, well, I'm taking Lictors. So worst case scenario, I'm going to have better Lictors. That seems fine. This is like so specific. It's like have better Tomb Blades or have better Immortals. You're like, okay. I guess I will take an Immortal squad to benefit from these if I have an extra detachment point. But I'm like gonna burn a whole detachment to buff my Tesseract arc, like my Tesseract vaults. That's a big ask. Those guys cost 500 points and a detachment point if I wanted to buff them with this thing. So it's like more difficult to get use out of the 1-point detachments. It feels like in this faction than the other factions. So I think like worst case scenario, I might take like an Immortal unit and then get like advanced to do actions with them, which doesn't feel that great. But I guess you can obsec your home objective for a command point and then just like run out in the open. That seems okay. A little bit weird. Is through I believe that 3,000 points is for detachment points at a base level. I think they've already talked about that. I believe that is the case. These seem fine for Necrons. I don't know necessarily if I'm like massively excited about any of them. It seems like they really wanted to reel back on Necrons a little bit, and it definitely feels like some of their combos they wanted to sort of, I guess, limit. I think that brings us to Votann, and then we can do Tau, which I'm sure everyone's excited about. So we'll do Votann first here. I also think Necrons, a lot of how we review the faction is going to be based on how their reanimation protocols work, because if it works the way we kind of think it will, where you can reanimate a bodyguard, but not if the character's destroyed, Necrons are going to be very good. If you can reanimate the bodyguard and the character, Necrons are going to be probably broken, but we'll see. Just hopping to Votann real quick. Hearthband is their only 3 DP detachment. Fuck. Oh. Okay. So you can take Need Guard or Delve or Mercenary and a 1-pointer. Well then. Interesting. Don't mind if I do. Okay. That seems good. Rules updates. Brandfast Oathband for hostile acquisition, the stratagem they cannot decide on. You target a Votann transport unit from your army. One Votann unit embarks within the transport can disembark. I think you mean perform a disembark move. When doing so, models can be set up anywhere on the battlefield other than 6 inches. You can't declare a charge. Blah, blah, blah. It's in the end of any of your phases if you are in hostile acquisition. Okay. Need Guard Oathband. Reactive Reprisal changes to you shoot as if it were your shooting phase. It does not snap shoot, unlike every other instance of that effect. Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Persecution Prospect. Yeah. So 9-inch things turn to 8-inch things. Blah blah blah. All normal stuff. And yeah. Okay. Normal stuff. Let's go to the detachments. Armored Trailblazers. Give Sagittars Scout back, because they used to have it in last edition, and they lost it. Or they had it in Index, right? And then they lost it, Index 10th. You can upgrade them to get ignore cover. You can upgrade them to get mobile. Mobile's very good on these guys, especially with the Scout 6, because you can like run through terrain on your deployment line and then scout into either the midboard or into staging areas. Coordinated Crossfire gives up to 2 Sagittar units, selecting 1 enemy unit. When you target the enemy, you get reroll 1s to hit and wound. Not too bad. I like that it's 2 Sagittars. If this was 1 Sagittar, it would feel very limited in utility, but 2 Sagittars is pretty good. Outflanking Armor. I would love... Here's what I would really want to see. I would love an enhancement for a Sagittar that lets them carry Brokir Thunderkin. I think that would be awesome. It's like expanded equipment ranks or something, and you can carry Brokir around, because then it's much easier to deliver your ignore cover guys, which I think is very important for if you want to get damage out of Sagittars, because Sagittars are otherwise hitting on 5s most of the time, which feels bad. Outflanking Armor, you can put up to 2 Sagittars into Strategic Reserve. Oh, no, excuse me. End of your opponent's movement phase, you can select 2 Sagittars in Strategic Reserve. You can ingress them. So it's a rapid ingress for 2 guys. Which is fine, I guess. Built to last... You can give Sagittars -1 to be wounded. This seems totally okay. I don't know if Sagittars are really where it's at, though. Is kind of the thing. We're like buffing a unit that you're like, it's like a 0 to 1, right? In most armies. Maybe a 2 if you're taking like a couple Chthonian units that you're delivering. But it's very seldom these days that you're taking like the OG like 6 Sagittars, which just feels like this wants to be in. So, I don't know about that. Far Seekers. Although, I guess, like, in fairness, fast delivery is important, but you're going to take Capricus Carriers for that. I don't know. Why are we taking Sagittars or Capricus Defenders even are probably pretty good these days. For, like, to take, like, fast little light units. I don't know if we're going to put a Sagittar in there. Because you 2-for-1 yourself if you use a Sagittar for utility, delivering utility units, and your opponent can kill both the Sagittar and the utility unit. Whereas if you're putting in a defender, you lose like a 70-point little baby vehicle, and then that's it. So I don't know if the Sagittar detachment's really what we want. Maybe it is. I don't know. Far Seekers gives all Herdinkin ranged attacks to target an enemy unit within 12 inches plus what a hit. That's fucking sick. That's very good. Pioneers are like in every list, so we're just gonna take that. Worst case scenario. You can give Pioneers +3 detection range against the 1 visible enemy unit within 12. You spot them, and then everybody can see them. And then you can give Jaegers -3 detection range. Those are all incredibly strong, especially because you can have a unit infiltrate onto your expansion objective and just sit there the entire game and not be seen outside like 9 inches. So it's super hard to attack them. Oh, we love that. That seems great. Scornful Analysis. Select a visible enemy unit within 12 inches. All friendly... Holy shit. All friendly League of Votann units attack to target that enemy unit have ignore cover. Votann players are worried about the -1 to hit from cover being deleterious to them in conjunction with their already low ballistic skill. I guess you can pay a command point, and it doesn't matter anymore. Okay. No shot wasted gives Hernkins lethal hits. Okay. Economy of motion gives Pioneer unit a D3+3 reactive move against enemies. It's a little tough to maneuver Pioneers, so it's not like we can jump behind walls with that. But in any case, I think it's probably fine. This seems sweet. I love that. Hearthguard Covenant gives call on your champion on your Hearthguard Uthar, reroll wound rolls of 1. This is like the little baby Hearthband, which is cool because Hearthband itself is 3 detachment points. So if you want the Hearthband flavor in any of the other detachments, you can take it. It's got to compete with this thing though. Like, again, this is a detachment that buffs like one of the best units in the Codex, the Hernkid Pioneers, and also Hernkid Jaegers. Capricus don't have the Hernkin detachment or keyword, right? That would blow my mind. Oh my god. They fucking do. Bro, what the fuck? Why even print this? It doesn't matter. This doesn't matter. What are we gonna take? The thing that buffs the 4 best data sheets of the Codex from a utility standpoint? Or reroll 1 to wound on Hearthguard. Okay. Sure. I guess you could take this and 2 of the other 1-pointers, but you're not gonna do that. Let's be real. Let's talk about this real quick. You're not gonna do that. So I guess you get rerolls of 1. You can do fight on death bullshit, whatever. You can get 4+ involved save. This is a bunch of just stuff from Hearthguard. +1 strength and sustained hits from Fury of the Hearth. 6/2 strike from your guys. I mean, that's fine. But it's not even bad. That's good. This is all really good. I don't want to undersell this. This is just a lot of the best stuff from Hearthguard. You do lose the +1 AP, right? You don't have that. And you don't have the 6-inch piling consolidate. But you could get that stuff from your other detachment, right? For your other units. And if you're playing Hearthguard, you're just going to take this. But fuck me, dude. Are you serious? This is basically just +1 to hit and a bunch of upside for all of your utility. What? Oh my god. Oh my god. Yeah, I don't know. Fascinating. I don't think any of the data sheets have changed or anything, right? I assume that none of these detachments have changed at all. If there are changes to those attachments, I'm sure somebody can post in the comments, but I don't think it's worth going through the existing stuff. I wonder what the best combinations are. So yeah, I guess Need Guard gives you a lot of the stuff, the baseline. Need Guard's about doing murders, and attaching Hearthguard to that does make sense, right? If we're just beyond tactical secondaries, we're just gonna not do that much primary and we're gonna do murders. I will say though that I think people are, I guess I have to look through all the missions, right? But I think people are overestimating Purge the Foe. It feels like a lot of people are oh, I get to play Purge the Foe. That's awesome. But Purge the Foe seems in a lot of cases sort of mid. Maybe I'll eat crow on that in 2 months once we played a bunch of games with the edition. But a lot of the Purge objectives feel like they do give you the kills you have to get are so specific. And having to interact with your opponent means definitionally they're also killing you, which can benefit a lot of the other secondaries. I believe that I played Purge into a Disruption, maybe, or I can't remember what I was playing. Or Take and Hold, I can't remember. But one of them was just also gave you Purge. It gave you no prisoners as a primary. And it felt really weird because the Purge primary required that you had to kill people in very specific places. And then the opposing primary that they got to play against Purge was just kill anyone. So they had to overextend to try to kill you. And then you just get 2 points for killing them every turn. It was really weird. It felt strange. And I do wonder if a lot of people are windmill slamming Purge detachments, but you don't necessarily need to. I will say reconnaissance does feel really good, and Farseekers is reconnaissance. So, okay. What you probably won't be doing is taking priority assets, I imagine. Priority assets feels very difficult to play in a lot of cases, especially for armies that are kind of limited activation count, which can, in some cases, be Leagues of Votann. Not that they have a dearth of units, but their units are oftentimes in like very specific positions. So I could see like going all killy and taking these two. But it also feels to me like Mercenary and Farseek or something is going to be like really cool. I don't know. Or even just like Need Guard and Farseekers. It's also cool. You could strip. Oh, fuck. You can strip cover with Farseekers for the Ancestral Sentence combo. So you don't even need to have a second Brokir unit. Strip cover for them first. Which is great. And I mean, this you get basically the same thing out of like either Mercenary Oathband or Brandfast. So you get to kind of like pick and choose whichever like version of the sustained hits conversion beamer wombo you want to take. Honestly, Leagues of Votann feel actually pretty good. I was already saying that like I think in a lot of cases, Hekaton land fortresses are easier to kill, but they're also this like horrifying monster now because they fully flat ignore cover, full stop. Whereas previously cover was a disaster for them, and you needed Brokir Thunderkin to ignore cover. Now they just ignore cover all the time. They also don't get cover really, like they do, but it doesn't matter as much because you can't stack defensive buffs, so they will die more often. However, being able to like take Hekaton land fortress that can deliver like these like crazy conversion beamer blasts into people, and then you like follow, and then you instigate that with like Farseek to get also ignore cover for your Brokir, so you can just deliver Brokir Thunderkin with the Hekaton land fortresses. Like it feels like this like mid board range damage is crazy from these guys. It does sort of require that your opponent like play to, you know, how you want to play, but you can also like strat reserve your Hekaton land fortresses and get a little bit more aggro with it. I bet there's also a list that takes Armored Trailblazers and Delve Shift though. So I think Delve Assault, because like you can scout Sagittars and then like use that to stage Chthonian Berserks up the front. However, rapid ingressing, as we've talked about a million times, rapid ingressing melee units, especially melee units that can be as fast as they can in Dev Shift, actually is like super spooky. So I do actually even wonder if you care about Armored Trailblazers and you just take most of the combos we talked about for Hekaton land fortresses and you deliver your Chthonian Berserks using Hekaton land fortresses and rapid ingress, and you just call it a day. And you just use land fortresses to shoot people. And then you just take Farseek probably, and you could play Recon or whatever. It doesn't matter. Man, it does feel like Votann has so much interesting build variety. Yeah. Fuck. Oh, dude. If I was a Votann player, I'd just be excited to try this stuff. I don't even care if it's like necessarily, like which version is optimal. But the fact that we are having this discussion is so interesting, right? It's just like only 1/3 DP detachment, which is like you can take it or leave it. It's fine. Hearthband is good. You know, it's still going to be good. Whatever. Like we already know that dropping Chthonian or dropping Hearthguard onto people is solid, and being able to ingress them and stuff is going to be great. However, hear me out. There's like 7 other detachment combinations that are going to be cool. I don't know, man. I think it's cool. Persecution Prospect? I could see that. I could see Persecution Prospect. I know that there's a couple people And I don't know if I necessarily understand them. And I don't even know if I necessarily believe them. But they fucking swear by Persecution Prospect. And if you get to add a bunch of other sick buffs for your Hernkin units in the Hernkin detachment, it might go crazy. So yeah, I could see it. Dude, if I was a Votann player, I'd be a little excited right now. I'd be a little hyped. I want to do maybe once all these are out. Although I have to go to ACO this weekend. It's been on my calendar for a year. I got to do it, but I just want to talk about 10th edition. Maybe I'll do kind of limited. I don't think I'm gonna do like a second table stream at ACO, or I'm doing the 5-player team event. I don't think I'm gonna do a second table stream. Maybe I'll just work on video content while I'm there. Just go to my hotel room, just wrap it up and go to my hotel room every day, and then we talk about 10th edition for a while. I'd love to do like to just plan out, like lay out a bunch of detachment, like the best detachment combinations. I think that's a really interesting discussion to have. Good stuff. Let's talk about orcs. Oops. That is the wrong thing. Sorry, chat. Let's do this. If we look at it in the browser, it's going to be super slow, so we have to download. So orcs, we can look at their detachment costs real quick. They got Warhorde as 3. Oh. Only Warhorde as 3. Okay. Orcs kind of in the same position as Votann, I think. Well, let's see what their detachments look like. What's up, kitty cat? You want to come hang out with me on the stream? You can go up there. I got you a new cat tree. This is a new cat tree for Inky, by the way. See if she wants to use it. You want to come up? You can hang out on camera. Go up there. Maybe up here? Up here? No. All right. Well, fair enough. Want to come up? No, she's being standoffish. That's okay. Let's talk about any big data sheet changes they have. I'll just pop away while we scroll through. Here we go. Let's see. A lot of the walk mechanics have remained the same. They changed the big hunt to give you reroll charges, but only if you charge engaged with your prey target, which is how they work, like sort of selective reroll charges nowadays. Which is neat. Play IRL. Who plays 40k in person? What a weirdo. Dread Mob is stuff. Yeah, this is a lot of changes again that we've had for a million years. Blitz at Mama turns into airplanes. Battle wagons get stuff. Yeah, I don't know if any of these are actual changes. Your movement phase. If Boss Necrons unit isn't engaged, you can place the unit in strategic reserve. It has deep strike until the end of the phase. Oh, interesting. Yeah. So yeah, it just happens in your movement phase, so you can just up down immediately. Boys bodyguard section. You can attach 2 unit leaders, but only if one of those is a war boss. But it has to be a support now, which could change what you attach. Up to 2 leader units. Oh, okay. Wait. So can they have 3 attached characters? Oh, up to 2 leader units instead of 1. Yeah, and then 1 support. No. Wait, you can have 3 attached characters? What? That's crazy. The banner knobs the only support. I actually have no idea what the new support units are, to be perfectly honest. Are they data sheets in here? That's Legends. I guess we have to scroll up, not down. I was like, who the fuck is this character? I've never seen this character before. Burn Obamas can selectively remove cover from people. Oh, at the end of your opponent's fight phase, though, useless. That's not useful. Fuck. I was like, wait, that's sick, actually. So removing cover from enemies on demand is great. Burn bombers might be legit. No. It happens. So it happens at the end of the movement phase. That's not ideal. Hi, kitty. What are you doing, baby? Coming to visit? Aw. I'm gonna have to sit like this. She wants to sit on my arm, I think. What's up, kitty cat? I don't know if any of these can't overwatch or can't snap shoot. Any snap shooting into sneaky gets. Good to note, I guess. War attack, weird boy, Zodgrad, what's that? Yeah, this is all like old stuff. So I guess we can look through the data sheets. I imagine that they're here. Tank Busters, Wazdeka, Gutsmack. Yeah, here's the new guys. This guy shoots 14 gunshots into a non-monster vehicle. War track is whatever. Yeah, so Banner Knob has the support ability. And Big Boss is the leader ability, yeah. I guess they didn't reprint the Pain Boy because he's identical. His old version. Which means he's probably still he must still be a leader. So I guess the idea is that you can dual attach either the Big Boss and the War Boss. Or the Pain Boy and the War Boss, but it does seem like you can attach this guy in addition. But I don't know that for sure. I don't know if the old FAQ entry still exists that says you can only ever get 2 characters attached. So we'll see. That probably requires an addendum, the addendum document, to know for sure. It would be pretty cool if you could have the boys squad with Gaz and the tractor guy and another guy. Just because the invuln save early is pretty big. And +1 toughness is huge too. Plus having another dude to get all of the buffs, right? Sustain another 6 sustain lethal, strength 5 attacks is actually not worthless on Gaz's unit, for example. Kitty, you are so right here. Okay, now you're gone. All right, let's talk about some detachments. The Pain Boys also support? Is he? Well, he's not in the document, so I would assume not, right? Am I crazy? I think you just use the old Pain Boy data sheet. So because they reprinted him, but they reprinted him the only difference was that they renamed the name of his Power Claw. Because currently he has a Power Claw and then he turned into a Doc's Snippa or something stupid, right? That was I believe the only mechanical difference. And it didn't even change the stat line. So which means in the new edition, in the old edition, that would actually form a different attack sequence, and you could split them in the middle of your attack. It was super weird and annoying. However, in the new edition, it means that they're just identical attacks to Power Claws, which means there's literally no difference between whatever 8/2/2 4+ weapon skill on the Doc versus on the rest of the unit. The game treats them as exactly the same. So he's not. I don't believe he's different than the current ruling. So it seems like he's a leader here, Chad. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. He's a leader in the 10th edition codex, and I see no reason that we wouldn't use the 10th edition datasheet if there's no new datasheet in the faction pack. So, I don't know. We're talking about battle wagons. I don't know what to tell you, chat. Currently, the Pain Boy is not support, and there is nothing in this document that indicates that he would be support. So, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe it's a mistake, but the Pain Boy currently is a leader. He has the leader ability in 10th edition. So it is what it is. All right. So until they release otherwise, he's not support. I don't know what to tell you, Chad. Which could just mean that they update this document and they put a new datasheet in that gives him support. But at the time of recording, the datasheet that a datasheet that has support on it is not inside the faction pack. So I don't know. I mean, it's not like these faction packs do not have a million issues. So it could just be that they forgot it. But going off of literally the document I'm reading right now, he's a leader. So it is what it is. Let's talk about battle wagons. So battle wagons give reroll charge rolls, and then when you advance, you auto advance 6-inch. When you can upgrade them to get +1 to charge when you disembark from them. And we do have, I guess there's no way to firing deck them or anything, so you just have to remember, I guess, or to not to firing deck. You can definitely firing deck them, but to assault ramp them. So you have to disembark and then push. This does feel pretty good because oftentimes just regular lists will have 1 to 2 battle wagons in them, but I guess we have to recontextualize how we consider a lot of these, because these detachments are not going to go with Warhorde, which is where most of these units ended up sort of arriving. Targeting gizmos gives a big mech. A unit a big mech is embarked into, ignore cover, and sustained hits. It is wagons only, which will, I think, literally only affect battle wagons, because I don't believe that kill rigs can embark non-beast snaggas. Yeah. So that would only affect a battle wagon. Is that good? It's weird because it means that you're not buffing the vehicle with the mech, but you can have a second mech, I guess. I don't know if we can can we make a battle wagon build that actually does damage we care about? I've never seen anyone do it, so I guess I don't actually necessarily know. You have 4 big shooters. It affects ranged attacks only, so we're not even buffing our melee profile. You can give it 1 cannon, kill cannon, or zap gun. So it's just the 20 big shooter shots plus either a 9/2/2 kill cannon, a 10/2 D6 shot from a cannon, or the zap gun, which is 1 shot. This is not very good. Ignore cover is good, I guess, because we can actually hit on 5s instead of 6s, but we're buffing 20 kind of do nothing strength, AP zeros, and 1 gunshot. Okay. I don't know. That's sort of whatever. We can give. Well, I guess it affects your firing deck, I suppose. I guess that's the thing that we want. So if we put tank bustas inside it, that would probably be where we're at. I think that's where we're going. Because then we can also give them rapid fire. So I think that's what you do is you take the You take the open-topped version of the battle wagon, which means you don't take an Ard case, and then you put like 2 units inside it, and then he buffs the units, and then you act as like this big thing that like wanders around. So that's probably what we're supposed to be doing. Impending crunch. You can give a battle shock test to things you charge. It seems fine, I guess. Devastating drift gives you cleave 1. So you get like maybe 2 melee attacks.
Adriong 6931 donated $5 through Super Chat. All hail the Stomper. Gaz is now only 4 slots in the Stomper. Stomper meta confirmed.
Stomper meta, let's go. That guy's definitely not gonna get killed. It's fine. We're definitely not eating every railgun shot in the game immediately. I do wonder, the like terrain layouts now are a little bit easier to navigate for large models, so I do wonder if there is like a space for models that can survive their first round of shooting. But I am a little bit, I don't know, I'm a little worried about whether or not such units can exist on turn 1, especially if people are like, just rocking a bunch of rupture cannons or whatever, because it's easier to get use out of them, and you just like the Stampa starts on the table, can't see anything, and then just gets blasted by just a bunch of laser destroyers immediately upon turn 1. Because there's no way that guy's hiding at all. There's a 0-0 chance. But he's toughness 14. Listen, you know what Ignore's toughness? Strength 16 Oath of Moment. Right? I think that's where you get it. Strength 12 Oath of Moment Twin Linked. That's what Ignore's toughness characteristic. Maybe he'll just save on 5s. He has a 5 with Sinbon. Maybe he'll just save. Just save on 5s. More DACA is back. More DACA is back. Friendly Orc infantry units range attacks of assault. While you are wogging, you get sustained hits 1. Infantry units can get rapid fire 1, or if it already has rapid fire, add +1 to the value of the rapid fire. Rapid fire 1 becomes rapid fire 2, for example. I mean, that's just really good, right? On like a tank buster squad or something. Just obscenely solid. The Gobshot Thunderbuss is Orc infantry ranged attacks models have devastating wounds and hazardous. Do shock attack guns already have devastating? They don't, right? They don't. Yay! And like the new hazardous is not too bad for these characters because you're only losing a model every time, or a wound on a model every time you fail the test. So you can pretty easily just slap hazardous onto things and it's fine if you're infantry. If your vehicle is a little bit tougher. But yeah, I don't know. That seems pretty good on this guy. Probably going to take that. I do wonder if this is the most interesting of the detachments so far, just in general.
At FateWeaver9 donated $2 through Super Chat. Mech guns with a SAG attached to infantry units.
I guess. I don't think... is it for the purposes of this thing? I don't think that matters because this can't attach to the character, and we don't know 100% how this works. But even if the character then joins the unit, it doesn't at the time you're attaching the enhancement or the upgrade, the unit's individual. It seems like the implication is either you upgrade units and then attach characters, or you can't attach to upgraded units. So either way, this wouldn't work, right? Oh, but I guess the idea is that it gives them the detachment ability. Is that what we're talking about? I mean, is that good? The funny thing to talk about orc ranged builds is that they're like so often bad. It's like very. Oh, this is just the mech. It's mech guns. It's like tough to find a way to like get use out of them. I guess like it does work for all your stratagems, and they hit on baseline 4s. I guess like maybe that's fine. But then you have to not attach sag mechs to your Luda or tank busta units, which feels like you're just losing efficiency. I bet that maybe there's a build where you attach regular mechs to these guys, right? In order to give them the infantry keyword so that they get all the bonuses. And then you can play this with like Dread Mob. And you can press the button on them. So then you can get like assault, sustain, ignore cover, and whatever else. +1 to do something. That might be the game plan. The problem is you're move 3. I guess it is easier to get line of sight these days because you could just tow into terrain rather than having to go all the way around it. So move 3 plus assault is like not the slowest thing in the world. But it does feel to me still, maybe I'm off base with this, but it feels like not attaching into your like actual like combat infantry squads is going to be super sad for the shock attack gun specifically. You can give Orc infantry ignore cover. Phenomenal. We love that. Orc infantry charging enemies within 9 inches have +1 AP. Phenomenal. We love that. And then when enemies shoot you, you can snap shoot them back. Not as exciting, but okay, I guess. I mean, you do have sustain, so the snap shooting is not like the end of the world. If you do roll 6s to hit, they do sustain themselves. So there are going to be some situations which is spooky. So like if you like shoot at a tank buster unit and they're just like, I don't know, here I go. There's a bunch of tank missiles in the shock attack gun coming back at you. That's like pretty good. I wonder if there is a build that goes between these two, right? Where like 2 components of your army are this like big mech that goes into a transport, gives the transport rapid fire 1, and does a bunch of stuff so that you can like deliver like tank busters or something, and then once the tank busters are on the table, they have like sustain and all this stuff. So like you can have the battle wagons deliver the ranged infantry into close range in order to get all your bonuses. I don't know if that's necessarily good, but I do wonder if there's a build that does that. Tactical Brigade gives Storm Boys battle line. Seems good. When a friendly boy, commando, or Storm Boys unit is selected to make an advance or fallback move, it does not prevent them from being eligible to start an action, and that affects all your regular boy squads. Well, that's very good. Holy shit. All right, well, fuck all these other detachments where you do funny things with ranged attacks. This is the one that you take. You can get redeploy for infantry. You can get infiltrate and stealth. Whatever. This affects only a single model. So, like, whatever. I guess it's good if you have, like, a guy who can go up and be a utility unit. But you can just we can advance Storm Boys 1,000,000 inches. It's fine. Commanders or Storm Boys can advance and charge. Oh, no, excuse me. Can fall back and charge. End of your opponent's movement phase. This is a weird one. End of your opponent's movement phase, an unengaged... This is... Okay. An unengaged boys, commando, or storm boy unit that was engaged at the start of the phase makes a 6-inch normal move. It's weird that they printed 1,000,000 instances of when an enemy unit is selected to fall back from you, do X, and then they just printed this, which is the same effect, but with a different and weirder timing. So basically, when your opponent falls back from you, you can move in any direction, which is good. Unengaged Commando Storm Boys unit can go to Strat Reserve. Awesome. These are great. I think this goes like kind of insane sometimes. There's gonna be some cases where you like charge, you engage a unit of like idiots, and your opponent goes like, I'll fall back, and you just like pull yourself out of the ruin and can't be seen anymore. Or into the room and become hidden. The hidden mechanic's going to be great for orcs because in a lot of cases you don't care about your guns anyway. So you're like, I have a slugga, but like, who gives a shit? I'm just not going to. I'm not going to waste my time resolving the slugga attack. So I'm just going to ignore it, which just retains hidden for you, and it's fine. So being able to like maneuver yourself around terrain features while remaining hidden to potentially like go into go to ground and get a 12-inch hidden effect is going to be massive. I actually think it's like kind of great. Unless your opponent can realistically kill you in combat. But there's also going to be cases where this affects 20 boys with Ghazghkull. I guess that's probably why it's not reactive, right? It's so that you don't just take this with another like a bully boys or something, and you have Gaz like walk and push forward, engage your opponent's whole army, and they fall back into your reactive and then pin their whole army again. You can't engage them, obviously, on the reactive move, but what you can do is jail their future movements in the middle of their own turn. And so not being able to do that's kind of valuable, I guess. But there are going to be some crazy instances where you go, I'm going to move so that like either Gaz is in a more defensive position himself, or I'm going to move so you like no longer have line of sight with your your guns to my characters, which your precision attacks to my characters, for example, or I'm going to move to like threaten control of objectives, or I'm going to move to de-obsec objectives. There's a bunch of ways that this goes really weird. And I think that's really good. But also these effects are crazy. And I think that they're it's like not flashy, right? But it's extremely consistent. Storm Boys are, I think, in my opinion, basically the quintessential scoring unit for 11th edition. They're this deep striking unit. They're extremely cheap. They're small. They hit okay in melee. I'm not going to say that they're the greatest thing ever. But I think you're going to want this like glut of melee of utility units. And for like, what? I don't know, 250, 300 points, you get like 5 or 6 Storm Boys units that can just like drop everywhere. I think it's going to be good. And you can up down them, and you can jump around, and you can advance and do actions. They move base 12 and can advance in action. Like, what the fuck, dude? I think legitimately this is probably really good. Strat is colored red, so it's just a misprint to movement phase? No. Red means it's usable on your opponent's turn. Blue means it's usable on your turn. And green means it's usable on either player's turn. So this is correct because it is end of your opponent's movement phase. I guess that's all we got. That was it. That was everything. I guess like talk about detachment combos. What's funny is that like nothing jumps out immediately. I think there's probably something with like there's something funny with Mordaka and Dreadmob because you could give a lot of things the mech keyword, and then they get affected by both the Mordaka and the Dreadmob detachment abilities. That's like pretty weird. There's something there for sure. I think like Bully Boys plus Tactical is probably going to be really crazy because you can get all your damage output from like Breakas and Gaz and whatever. And then you just have just the most insanely efficient utility of all time, right? Which is like 60-point Storm Boys units that are battle line and can advance in action. That's like feels really strong. And maybe something similar happens with Big Hunt. Because Big Hunt oftentimes is like it's not like Cult of Speed where you end up with like a trillion little warbiker units that run around, and so you end up kind of fulfilling your own necessity for actions just in the detachment itself. But Big Hunt ends with these like big Hunta killer rigs and these big Squighog units, and so being able to supplement with that with Tactical Brigade feels very strong as well. The interesting part is that a lot of the 3 or a lot of the 2 detachment point attachments in Orks are already so focused on one specific build that it doesn't feel to me like it needs a second detachment in order to fill the gaps, right, in their composition. So, we're talking about Green Tide, which is just like you run fucking 200 boys and that's what the army is, or Cult of Speed, where you run 1 trillion Warbikers and that's what the army is, or War Horde, which just has a build. we all basically know what it is. It's like the 2 Breaka boys, 2 war bosses, one Kaz brick, 1 battle wagon or whatever. That obviously can't be taken with anything else in a Strike Force game, but it's interesting that unlike Votann, which we just talked about, which had like all this really interesting variety, where it's like, wow, if we combo these 2 things together, it's gonna be crazy. It feels like a lot of these armies already feel like sort of they're so one note that they don't really like go so hard into that one note that I don't know necessarily if they're looking for a second component in there, and there's not a lot of overlap between any of these. But Tactical Brigade feels the one to me that gets the easiest to slot into a new detachment. I guess like Rolling Death in the detachments where you're taking 1 to 2 battle wagons is good, just because it gives you like on the walk turn, your battle wagons go super fast, right? Your battle wagons just deliver themselves into the fight, which is kind of a big deal. But I don't know. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, they're useful for unlocking dispositions. That's true. A lot of these are purge, actually. You 3 purge, 2 take and hold, or 4. No, sorry, 3 take and hold. 3 purge, 3 take and hold in the multi cost attachment range, and so being able to slot in a priority asset disruption wherever we want them to is pretty good. I guess funnily, Dreadmob plus Mordecai locks you to purge. You have no choice at all. Can it please, sir? Can I play a different mission? No, you play purge and you like it. That's really funny. All right, chats. Let's talk about some Tau. So real quick, we will rock the erratas and see if there's anything that matters, and then we'll go from there. So this is the one that, I mean, I think among a lot of other people are very afraid of. I think Tau may just be the best army if we don't see any other changes to the game. If we just transposed 10th to 11th edition without changing anything else besides the rules we already know, I think Tau or Pact Bound Zealots would just win every game. Or maybe like we just make those 2 fight and everyone else plays their own game. So I'm a little worried about these, obviously. Hopefully we will see some recontextualization of the Tau faction. We'll see Photon grenades apparently Photon grenades has the change they should have done to repelling sphere, but they didn't, so get fucked. It's after an enemy unit selected as charged target. Does this have the same fucking thing that they did for repelling sphere though? Oh, they did. God damn it, Chant. So the problem with this is that this doesn't really do anything. I guess like weirdly, this like timing actually worked. Which sucks. I guess like it requires that the Tau Empire, the grenade unit, be selected as the target of the charge. But this as written, doesn't do anything retroactively. I think it's clear that we could read into it the intention of the rule, but the annoying part is that mechanically it doesn't do anything, because basically what you do is you make a charge roll. The charge roll then calculates itself and converts into a bunch of other stats, which includes your like minimum distance and charge move or whatever. You then declare targets based on those statistics, which also includes any bonuses to them. And then your opponent uses the stratagem. And so basically what the stratagem is trying to do is basically be like, after the step at which you are completed with your charge roll, and you're now going to calculate where your charge can go, your opponent goes back and edits your charge roll, which is supposed to go forward and then edit all of your other rolls, like all of the other statistics that come from the charge roll, which is like, it kind of works, but it's also fucked. But the thing is that you just make a charge fail. So basically, like, this stratagem is fucking nuts, because your opponent goes, I'm going to charge. I rolled a 7. Your guy's within 7. I'm going to make this charge. And you go, no, oh, maybe it doesn't have the same problem as repelling sphere does. Oh, it does. So you can make the charge fail only in the specific case. These are fucked. These need to be rewritten entirely. It's so bad. This makes the charge fail in the specific case where your opponent is in a position where their charge move would get them to engagement but not base. So if I'm within 7 inches of you and I declare you as the charge target, you use this stratagem to give me -2 to charge. However, because I've declared you as the charge target, we are within 7, which means if I move 5 inches towards you, I engage you. So if the line between us is clean and I can move directly towards you, I by definition can still complete the charge. I just go slower. However, I could potentially fail the charge and be unable to make the charge move if there's something in the way that prevents me from ending at that point where I'm like exactly 1.99 inches away from you. So if there's like a little wall in the way or something, I could make you fail the charge. It's like super fucked. It's a really annoying stratagem. It's a good I think example of what happens when you like transpose rules between editions, because sometimes the core rules just change in a way that's like totally incompatible. And what they need to do is rewrite these abilities from the ground up, but they don't do that because they're lazy, I guess. So yeah, I don't know. They said for the greater good change. So they said, so what they've done is they've transposed a lot of abilities from the old FAQ just into the new FAQ. And so it basically like they put it in here, but it's going to be the same as you played it with previously because it is FAQ'd from the codex. So this is basically like an FAQ in reference to the codex. So a lot of the stuff doesn't look like it's different from what we're used to, but it is different from the original printing, which was like 2 years old or whatever. What's interesting is that Kalyan just gives you ignore cover if you target spotted units, but 90% of the time you target spotted units, you get ignore cover anyway, so it doesn't really matter, but that's interesting. I didn't really realize that because they had changed that like relatively recently, I don't know, within the last 15 months or something. So it's a bunch of stuff. Yeah, I think these are all pretty weird. I think the weird thing is that, like, I don't understand why a lot of these charge bonuses aren't usable at the start of the opponent's charge phase. Like, and target a unit within an X distance and give them minus something to charge. Like, this, I think, is a very good example of how those, like, charge manipulation rules should work. But this thing where it, like, makes your opponent kind of slow and take a battle shock check is, like, really weird. I don't know. The Sun Shark bombing run. Yeah, so it's the same as all of the other bombing effects that we've seen. End of your opponent's fight phase, select a visible enemy within 24. It does a bunch of damage. This one's a little bit different. It grenades them. It's funny that the bombing run, the like graviton bomb, that's the like 500 kilogram bomb from the Sunshark bomber, is the same effect as a guy throwing a hand grenade at you. But it is what it is. That's something game mechanics, right? Which is funny. Again, we're adding frame to aircraft, which I don't super love. But it is what it is. All the Space Marine bombers. Wait, do Space Marines have bombers? Besides the Thunderhawk, which doesn't need it because it's hover. What? Oh, I guess is it the Nephilim? Oh no, there's a Dark Angels one, right? It's the Dark Angels one. Yeah, well, Thunderhawks aren't aircraft, right? So it doesn't matter for Thunderhawks; they can just work normally. Was the Thunderhawk retained aircraft? Wait, the Thunderhawk gets to be aircraft, but fucking Harry Dan doesn't? I didn't even look at the Thunderhawk datasheet because I low-key kind of forgot about it, but also I figured it was going to be the same. I'm going to grab it real quick. I opened to the librarian on bike keyword or data sheet. We love that. Chad, bike librarian. All right, where's Thunderhawk at? Where is this fucking guy? Oh, yeah. Oh, he's both aircraft and hover. How the fuck does that work? I think this is a typo, almost certainly. He's supposed to be hover keyword. This is like doesn't make sense. None of his abilities work if he's aircraft, so I assume that he is meant to have lost this. But there's a couple typos. I think what they have to do is go through and do a bug fix on a lot of these. There's a bunch of stuff that doesn't work. I mean, apparently in Orks they forgot a whole data sheet, so it is what it is. All right, let's talk about Tau. More about who cares about Space Marines. We don't care about Space Marine aircraft. Those are bad. Let's talk about the Advanced Acquisition Cadre. When a Pathfinder or Stealth Battlesuit team is selected to shoot, range attacks do not prevent your unit from being hidden. Full stop. That's very good. That is actually, I would dare to say, incredibly good. I think that this is the gold standard for this faction of the 1 point attachment we have to beat. Because this is all, like, it starts so strong. Again, it's kind of like the Farseekers in Votann, where you're taking units that you're already playing a bunch, and you're buffing the thing that they explicitly do, which is like early game skirmishing and utility. And if you do that, I don't think there's any way this isn't the best 1 point attachment in the faction, for sure. You get negation emitters, which is -3 detection range for stealth battlesuits. Extremely good if they're just going to sit in the back and spot for people, because spotting also doesn't prevent you from being hidden. But you can shoot people. Who cares? You're still hidden if you're shooting people. So -3 detection range is incredibly good. And then unmasking suite. Go skill battlesuit, Pathfinder team, or stealth battlesuits. When it's selected to shoot, you can select an enemy unit within 24. The enemy unit gets +9 detection range until the unit is shot. I think that's a windmill slam in Pathfinder teams. I would be interested to know what the cost of these upgrades are, because it does feel like they are both incredibly good for the units that you're applying them to. Like, I think 1 to 2 Pathfinder teams with Unmasking Suite, so you can clear enemy utility that's like trying to hide on their expansion objectives, is extremely strong. And then negation emitters, you could just slap onto every stealth battlesuit team, and it would just be good. Because I think 90% of the time those stealth teams are just like sitting on your back, like your expansion objective and just spotting for things. So making them harder to interact with is super duper good. Marker Beacon lets Pathfinders and stealth battlesuits end of your movement phase obsec. Micro drone support allows you to perform an action and shoot. Auto reactive camouflage gives you +1 save on Pathfinder stealth battlesuit teams if you are hidden, which is actually, we sort of laughed at this on Neophyte hybrids because they have a base 5+ save. Stealth battlesuits have a 3+ save, so they go to a 2+. It's actually very strong. They're already -1 ballistic skill to be attacked. You already have to be close enough to attack them. And then also they go to like this, like, I don't know, elite infantry defensive profile. They become a Grey Knight strike squad for killing, like for defensively. And if you ever try to kill a Grey Knight strike squad, randomly they just don't die. So it's all gas here. The one thing we don't have is the ability to unhide enemies. And I imagine that that's very, very deliberate, because I think I would hazard a guess the one thing they're worried about is Tau just having like choose a unit within 12 plus 6 detection range. Because if that allows them to alpha more easily, things are going to get really, really disgusting. That said, a Pathfinder team that scouts, right? They scout 7 in Monka, advance and shoots. They move another, let's say 12. Or you're in a Devilfish and you scout the Devilfish, disembark, advance auto 6. You can go like 19 inches up the table and shoot at +9 range. Now the Pathfinders themselves, I don't know necessarily if they're going to like one tap you, but they certainly have the opportunity to. And I would be worried about just like their ability to like clear your utility early. That said, if they don't have any ways to give themselves extended detection range from other units, there is the potential that you can, in some cases, hide from the bigger Tau squads, which is helpful. It does require that you like back deploy really hard and they don't just like strike swiftly, auto 6 advance, and like push into your deployment zone. But the idea, I think, is that in a lot of cases, you're going to be able to counterattack that. So we'll see. Oh, I guess that's true. Yeah, you can't do that with Moncom, but you can do that in other cases, right? There's going to be other situations where we can scout the Devilfish and then push it forward and then disembark the unit. I mean, even a Devilfish can scout forward, advance, potentially 16 and go through walls, right? That's move 12 base, and then disembark 3. So you can still go like 25 and still shoot. Even outside of Monka. That is a good call out, though. I'm talking about it like we're playing it with Monka, but we're not. In fairness. So Auxiliary Cadre is where we find the plus detection range stuff. It is only +3 detection range, and it has to come from Kroot or Vespid Stingwings. Now, Kroot getting it is good early because we're going to be able to push the Kroot, like scout the Kroot forward. And a lot of times what we want to be doing, if we're going first anyway, is to put the Kroot on the midboard objectives, then obsec them on turn 1. So and because you can hide the Kroot themselves, there's going to be a lot of ways that you are going to be able to accomplish that very easily. So I think like Kroot Carnivores, like 2-ish units of Kroot Carnivores, and just to enable to the turn 1 sort of aggression is going to be incredibly helpful. I do think that's going to be strong in most armies. So this is it feels directly competitive with Advanced Acquisition Cadre. Because like in one case, our Pathfinders can do a bunch of real weird chicanery on turn 1, which is already a unit that we want to be buffing. On the second case, this is going to affect the army a little bit more. So we'll see. Kroot or Vespid Stingwings can shoot and remain hidden. It's kind of whatever. We don't really care about that. We can give a Kroot Shaper unit Deep Strike on up to 3 Kroot Carnivore or Farstalker units. I think this is like generally not too bad. You can also combo this with Kroot Hunting Pack, right? So if we're taking like massive numbers of battle line Kroot Carnivores, we could Deep Strike them, which is sort of silly. Like their capacity to ingress into hidden and then jail you is really strong. So that's a little spooky. I don't know. We'll see if that ends up being a play pattern. I imagine. I can't imagine that it doesn't. Which is kind of spooky. A lot of units ignore hit modifiers. Yeah, so hit modifiers and ballistic skill modifiers are different. So stuff like Riptide battlesuits with weapon support systems do not innately ignore cover. You'll have to get a marker light bonus in order to do that, which I think is, I mean, obviously I don't think it was intentional when they wrote the original thing, but I think it's intentional that they keep it that way because it does require that you do ignore cover, like cover answers elsewhere. Experimental modifications gives attacks +1 AP in the shooting or fight phase. It's good. That's good for if you are taking this alongside Crew Rampagers, getting +1 AP on those is kind of a big deal. You can advance and charge on Crew units, and you can get lethal hits and range attacks. Yeah, whatever. This feels I'll level. I think we're just taking this with Crew Hunting Pack, right? Yeah. We all assumed that like these tags would prevent these like things from overlapping, but they definitely don't. I think Crude Hunting Pack's gonna actually be really good. Is it gonna be the best version of Tau? I don't know. I do think that there's the potential that Auxiliary Cadre is the best 1-point detachment, though, because as we just talked about, extended detection range buffing the army is probably better than hyper-extended detection range on a single unit. The difference is that advanced acquisition is like buffing the units that you want to be taking for support anyway, and this requires that you not only pay a detachment for it, but you also take a bunch of crew and stuff. That said, +3 detection range on your like Mont-Ka Riptides or your Breacher teams or whatever, kind of a huge deal. So, I don't know. Especially because stuff that wants to shoot onto objectives is like, sort of benefited by the fact that the objectives are now terrain. So you're also, by definition, you have line of sight into the terrain features. So literally none of the Codex detachments have any tags whatsoever, and they haven't added them. I think it would be, that's certainly something they could do as a balanced update in the future, but at the time, like right now, there's no indication that there will be any restrictions on any of these detachments on release. That doesn't seem like the case. And like, there's a lot of like these interesting combinations that you can take between two units or two detachments that will overlap detachment abilities. This one does feel like the one that's like goes kind of crazy. Now, the big thing is, I think the fact that this affects just any crew unit means and gives you access to advance and charge and +1 AP, I think means that you can play it in addition to like just a bunch of cavalry, and the cavalry can act as like this big front line, and then because they are already a unit that's playing relatively aggressively, they can, while they're doing that, also select units to get the additional detection range. The interesting thing is it doesn't require eligibility to shoot, so you can do so like while you're advancing and charging up the table with your rampagers and stuff, which is a little spooky. It just requires visibility in 12 inches. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think they like the detachment tags to me feel like it's a lever that they can pull in future to rein back detachment combinations. So if they like it feels to me like on release they're going to be like, you can play 2 auxiliary detachments together, right? Crew Hunting Pack plus auxiliary cadre. You can play them together and we'll see how it goes. And if 6 months down the road every event is being won by Crew Hunting Pack plus auxiliary cadre, they can just apply the tag to KHP and we don't have to worry about it. That feels like the intention. It feels crazy that the idea would be that they're going to apply these tags to Codex detachments and then across literally the entire game do none of that to start with, right? If the idea was that like prior to full release we're going to update these, this would be the time to do it. We have a section of rotting things in the core in the Codex rules. If the idea was at the start of the edition that was going to be the case, they would have put it in this document. And obviously, like there's stuff that they've messed up in these, but I don't think forgetting detachment tags for literally every single detachment in the entire game across the board is reasonable to assume that was a mistake. So unless there's like a weird document where they add it later on, which I fucking hope they don't, because the divergence of FAQ materials in past editions has been one of the game's biggest issues for like legibility. I think that it would be crazy if it wasn't the case that you were going to be able to play these together in the beginning. Wonder if the tags will be in the Munitorm field manual. But then why would they print them here? Like, I don't know. Like if the idea was that, like, I know that disposition is something that they're open to changing, and it definitely seems like disposition is going to be something that they put into an MFM because they're not on the detachments themselves. But if like the idea was that they were going to go through and like consistently update them very often, why would they print them on the page and not print dispositions and not print all this other stuff, right? Not print detachment costs and everything. I don't know. That would just be weird to me. I don't know if I would get it. My assumption is that detachment tags will be as they are now, with the exception that they could change in the future on future balance updates. I have no reason to assume that they would just decide that two detachments couldn't be played together, like randomly, between now and 2 weeks from now. That would be bizarre with no gameplay involved in between. Would certainly not be out of character, but that would be super weird. Just like makes more work for them. If they're like, oh, we're gonna add a bunch of detachment tags, and then also we're gonna go back and then re-add detachment tags later. Why do that? Why would they go through another update cycle for all these documents if they didn't have to? I don't know. That'd be silly. Anyway, let's talk about experimental prototype cadre. This one is the cool one that's flashy and awesome. And I do wonder if there is like a universe where you play all these together. I bet there is. It actually doesn't. This does feel like it might be the faction that could play all of its one detachment point detachments in one thing. Grey Knights was the other one where it's like each component of like the Grey Knight 1 point detachment thing is like affects a different part of your army. And this also feels a little bit like that, right? Your like spotters get affected by advanced acquisition. Your front line gets affected by auxiliary cadre. And you focus on battlesuit character, like damage output rather than the other stuff. But it does feel like this is going to like just windmill slam and retaliation cadre and be incredible. It gives all your character units +6 range, not your character models. It's all your units. And then you have a bunch of enhancements for them. Thermoneutronic projector gives your flamers, one of the flamers on your battlesuit model. I love that it's select one of them. Okay, well, I'll probably only have one, so it is what it is. Gets +2 strength, +1 AP, and +1 damage. You can get a plasma rifle to get +2 strength, +1 AP, and +1 damage. You can get a airbursting fragmentation projector to get +3 strength, +1 AP, +1 damage. And then you can give yourself +1 strength and +1 AP and hazardous. Which is great. I think the big thing is the extra range that makes you easier to trigger things like Melta in a lot of cases, which is obviously massive. So, I don't know. Yeah. I think there's like some very clear combinations here. I think Kauyon probably has some play, especially with the ability to like hold stuff back and hold secondaries back and then score them later. You can hold kill secondaries until your Kauyon abilities turn on and then just like go really hard. But obviously, like the ability to drop Crude Hunting back and auxiliary cadre or retaliation cadre and experimental prototype together is really big. So I think it's awesome. Stratagem is insta death for your unit. Oh, because your vehicles, you'll take 3. Well, no, it is a lot. Hazardous is like, I guess it's worth like reviewing the hazardous rule itself. Because it's rolling once per each weapon. Yeah, the number of hazardous weapons is selected to shoot. Yeah, so if you have like 3 guns per battlesuit, they do on average mostly kill themselves. I feel like some of the hazardous mechanics were written before like the final hazardous rolls were codified. I do wonder if hazardous should go to 2 for vehicles. Because I do think there's a lot of cases where you just literally kill yourself by shooting a bunch of weapons. And it does feel bad that like a hazardous weapon on like a single entity is just worse than it was previously. In fairness, it was like a big nothing burger. If I was shooting an 18 wound greater demon, I was always going to overcharge until I was at 3 wounds, which is the same nowadays, right? Like I'm just going to get the bonus attacks and stuff for the low price of maybe a couple wounds. But the problem is that when you're like firing these multi-entity units, it gets really weird. And then it's like such a nothing burger for infantry. Like it is more damage on average than it was previously, but like I can put it on anyone. If I'm just firing one hazardous weapon, in a lot of cases it doesn't even have a chance to kill a model in the unit. It's a weird mechanic. I don't know necessarily if it's quite as balanced as it was previously. Yeah, so you average like losing a battle suit and a half or so, which is a lot for sure. But I think, I mean, unless you were doing like a Torchstar Gambit, how often were you firing an entire battlesuit unit and expected them to live next turn? Like, real talk. If we're going in, we might as well go all the way. And if I'm gonna blow up your Land Raider with my Sunforge team, like, whatever, let's go. We're all in. But also, I guess like you don't have to shoot all your guns. You could just not shoot all your little like idiot guns or whatever. It doesn't really matter. If you have gun drones or whatever, you don't have to shoot them. Yeah, so if you roll with drones, you're rolling like 14 attacks or 13 attacks, 13 dice. So you're losing 2 suits on average. So you have killed a unit. You probably killed 2 battle suits. You could kill yourself, but you likely just killed 2 battle suits. They're 5 wounds each. Right. But hazardous is 3 damage though. So it doesn't matter how many wounds you have. If you're above 3, it takes 2 to kill you and you die anyway. Yeah, it is dangerous. It's very dangerous. Anyway, chat. I don't know. I think we have to see points values for Tau, is my opinion. I think I'm really worried about Tau because every time I look at the boards, I'm like, man, like forward operations still good. It's good that they nerfed Infiltrate plus Scout. But forward operations like still incredibly strong, and like move 12, 13 plus ranged attacks is like basically has really, really solid access to a lot of the board. Especially against opposing vehicles, which have a tough time hiding to begin with. And there's like some boards where things are just really, really defensive, like super condensed. But the ability for a lot of these armies to be like, I'll sit like just outside my deployment zone and I'll like reveal hidden units on all the objectives and then I'll shoot them. And you just kill them all, like clear them off the objectives and call it a day. Especially because they have 2 purges, which I'm a little bit worried about. If you're like forcing Tau to play a lot of priority assets or something where they have to play really aggressively, I think it makes things a little bit easier. And they do have a lot of priority assets in their selection, but how often are you taking them realistically? Like we can just play Purge and play a lot of kill secondaries, and it feels very straightforward. However, there's also the case though that in some instances, like you can force them so far forward that you get to counterattack them into melee. But it obviously is up to the Tau player to position around that. There is, however, the chance that we do see Tau get just like hit, especially on duplicate units. I know that the rumor is currently that there's a duplicate unit tax in the Miniature and Field Manual. So if you take multiple things like Riptide Battlesuits, they get more and more expensive the more that you take of them. If we see that, like Tau is this faction that tends to take a data sheet and like take it in multiples every case, right? So it's like I take 2 to 3 stealth battlesuits, I take 3 Pathfinder teams, I take 3 Riptide battlesuits, I take like, X number of gunships. And if we see, like, oftentimes I'm taking 2 to 3 broadside battlesuits, if we see those become more difficult to take in multiples, it could be that the Tau compositions are so much less efficient than it was in 10th that it's actually fine. We'll see. If, like, there's a lot of cases And this happened in 10th edition too, where you're like, man, my opponent could shoot me and they could alpha strike me. This is horrible. And then they do that, but then you just get to kill so much of their army that it doesn't matter. You're like, oh man, I lost 500 points on turn 1, and then you kill 1,000. They're not winning. They're not winning the fight. They've already lost. And so like, we'll have to get some games under our belt. The alpha strikes do look like they're going to be brutal, but I do wonder how often, like, you're going to have to push forward to get line of sight. You have to go into mid-board terrain, and then you're just like, well, my hidden stuff can charge you now, so off we go. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm optimistic, but obviously with the caveat that, of course, I'm ready to get blown up on turn 1. So we'll see. Anyway, chat. Tiger Sharks got correct aircraft rules. Wait, did Tiger Sharks get updated? Let's look at Tiger Sharks. That's actually going to be, that's an interesting, I guess. I think that there is, I do like that. So far, nothing has been, legended, which is, I was expecting to see, but we'll see. They are aircraft. So that means they can't shoot you top of 1, right? It's impossible for them to shoot you on turn 1. They are going to be kind of disgusting. Although we do need special rules for them to deploy, because I think rules as written currently, they can't deploy on the table when they die. So we need to see I wish these rules were in the fucking core rulebook, but we need to see the rules addendum to see how units with a massive base work out of reserve. We'll find out. So we'll see. Corners are safe. Well, I know that that was an open question in, I guess I have to look at the rules. That was an open question with it in 10th edition, and I don't know if it's ever been addressed. Because you had to be wholly within 6 inches of a table edge. Does that mean one table edge, or does that mean table edges? And the most conservative reading of that meant that you selected one table edge and deployed wholly within 6 inches of it. In which case you still couldn't reserve that guy, and you'd have to just rapid ingress him, which was at the end of the world. That was like fine. Okay. So they have changed it. It is now wholly within 6 inches of one or more battlefield edges. We've solved it. So you can deploy a Tiger Shark in the corner. Full stop. It exists. It's there. We are good to go. Confirmed, Tiger Shark works as intended. I don't know, like, aircraft, I don't think have like special line of sight rules, right? Because I don't think they ignore obscuring anymore. Is that am I crazy? I actually don't know if that's the case. Yeah. It's just line of sight. So I actually think aircraft is like have a tough time actually shooting people, especially if they have to deploy in the corners. If you have aircraft that must go in the corner, your opponent knows where they can go. They can show up. So if they like screen out the corners on their side and hide from the corners on your side, you're like, well, I guess I suck. Woo! Let's go. Aircraft transports should have kept aircraft and been given deep strike. Are there any aircraft transports still in the game? I don't think there are. I think they're just hover vehicles now, which is much better. Real talk. That is superior mechanically. And if you don't agree, you're a silly goose, in my opinion. I think that the new aircraft rules are much nicer. Why don't they give aircraft deep strike? Because it'd be really strong. They don't want them to be like unstoppable. If you're like, they leave anyway, but like if they deep strike, they could just show up exactly where you want them to, and they get the perfect line of sight and then leave. Like, come on. What are, what are we doing? I think it also means that you can hide them behind terrain as well, right? They're just normal units. I don't think anything specifies that you can't see them. It actually makes hover vehicles, like in some cases, slightly worse, or slightly harder to, or easier to kill. You also can't rapid ingress them. It's interesting. Plunging fire, not eligible to clear charge. Yeah, they're just goobers. So they're just affected by intervening terrain in both ways, it looks like, which is interesting. No, chat. Harridan and the Corvus Blackstar are not aircraft. What are you talking about? You guys gotta get with the times. We spent a serious amount of time talking about both of those data sheets earlier. Neither of those are aircrafts. I don't believe any aircraft, besides the Thunderhawk, which in fairness is certainly typoed. I don't think any aircraft have transport capacities. But I don't know that for sure. There might be one in there, weirdly, like a weird Forge World guy. Non-legend, I guess. There's probably a legend or something. The Storm Raptor or whatever. Anyway, chat. That's all the Xeno stuff. Tau seems great. Votann seemed surprisingly kind of incredible, actually. Genestealer Cult seemed great. Genestealer Cult seemed good and interesting and fun. They seem phenomenal if they fix their army ability. Necrons seem okay. Tyranids seem okay. I don't know. The only one I'm like not that excited about, like I guess Drukhari is like alright, but that's because the stuff they're working from initially is kind of mid. Although I do think that there's a lot of weird stuff in Drukhari that's going to be great. Like Scourges are just like the perfect unit type for 11th edition, in a lot of cases. And I guess I wasn't that excited about Orks or Aeldari. Although the ability to attach stuff to Corsair Coterie does feel really strong to me, or Windrider House. I think those are going to be really good combinations. Yeah, the Storm Wolf's a legend. Yeah, he's an old boy. He's a good old boy. Can't teach him new tricks though. That's what I've learned. With that, chat, I think I'm gonna hop off. We'll be live tomorrow, same time, talking about chaos data sheets and stuff, which should be fun. Don't forget as well, I'm gonna be live over on at ACO this weekend. I'm going to be leaving Thursday afternoon for that. So basically, immediately after the live stream Thursday for Imperium Factions, I'm going to hop into my car and tootle myself over to Atlantic City to live stream all weekend. It's going to be awesome. So come hang out with me over there, and we'll probably be talking about 10th edition as we're going. But big thanks to the Frontline Gaming guys for asking me out. It's going to be my last stream of 10th. It'll be a big send-off for 10th edition. And then immediately after that, I'm coming back, and then I'm jumping back out on the subsequent Friday, and I'm going to go over to the Summer Ruin event, which is going to be one of, if not the first Grands Tournament of 11th edition. Fucking sick. I'm so excited. So thanks, everyone, for hanging out, and let's hop over to the next stream. Cheers, everyone.